fishtail. Look how close Poole's getting. Dix is in trouble.
This year, we celebrate 60 years of world-class match racing at the iconic Congressional Cup, hosted by the Long Beach Yacht Club.
Yeah, buddy, 2 in a row, baby. Best team in the world.
It was such a huge honor to have my name on that trophy alongside some of the absolute legends of the sport.
Obviously, the winner of the Congressional Cup wins the Crimson Blazer.
Putting this jacket on last year was something I've dreamed about since I got into match racing.
When it comes to one of the most important decisions of your life, your future, your freedom, your legacy, selling your business shouldn't be complicated. At Plethora Businesses, we help business owners sell smarter, faster, and for the highest value they deserve. From valuation to closing, we're with you every step of the way. Visit plethorabusinesses.com to start your next chapter.
I'm Long Beach Mayor Rex Richardson, and I'm proud to welcome you to the 60th Congressional Cup, one of the world's premier sailing regattas. Hosted by the Long Beach Yacht Club, this iconic event highlights why Long Beach is a top global destination for competitive sailing. Join us April 30th to May 4th for spectacular views of the vibrant spinnakers dancing on our water, to the exciting close-up action visible from the Belmont Pier, right where Olympic sailors will soon begin to train for LA 28. To all our guests, our competitors, welcome to the city of Long Beach. Thank you.
It's springtime here in Long Beach, California, and that means 10 of the top match racing teams from around the world have traveled here for this 60th anniversary edition of the Congressional Cup. Known as the grandfather of all international match race regattas, this is one of the most prestigious events on the World Match Racing Tour. Hi, I'm Tucker Thompson. We join the action here on day number 3, and I'm joined by Ryan Sanders, Marilyn Cassidy, and we've got Australian match racing experts Zach West and Princess Tiana Whitty. Great to have all you guys with us. And of course, our umpire expert from the Long Beach Yacht Club is Kirk Brown. Now, these teams have been sailing for the past 2 days in a double round robin format, each team sailing against the other, and then we move on to the top 4 semifinals tomorrow. We've already completed one round robin, and here's a look at how the scores went down. Chris Poole sitting on 8-1, Cole Tapper and Eric Monnin 7-2, and Dave Hood 6-3. So all teams want to make the top 4. Those were the top 4 after round robin number 1. Here's a look at where we are right now in round robin 2. Let's shift the graphic. And we'll take a look. So Chris Poole again on top, and he is the reigning champion. Eric Monnin and Yanni Berntsson had really good days yesterday. They moved up in the standings. So remember, every point counts now. We have 6 flights left in this second round robin. Now, Chris Poole is looking for his 3rd Congressional Cup victory in a row. He's the reigning champion, and here he tells us how he got to this point. Well, he will in just a second. You're looking at live pictures out here in Long Beach. We'll see if we can hear from. That's Poole right there. The man to beat. Let's see what he had to say.
The winning back-to-back Congressional Cups in 23 and then in 24 was really awesome.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Chris Poole and Riptide Racing.
The result we achieved in 23, going undefeated, which has never happened, still kind of blows my mind. You know, a lot of amazing Hall of Fame names haven't even won the Congressional Cup. And, you know, to go and do it undefeated and then to back it up and do it the next year against Ian Williams in the final, you know, we can take everyone down.
Well, here we are, live pictures out on the water in Long Beach Yacht Club off the Belmont Pier there in the background, the best seat in the house for international match racing, and that's where we are watching the racing unfold this afternoon. There in the foreground on the left of screen is the signal boat. And in just a few minutes, we're going to see the first entry. Remember, this is flight number 13 overall in the regatta, and our fourth flight in the second round robin. We're going to see Chris Poole, who you just heard from, up first against Nicole Breault. And right now, Marilyn, the breeze is light and overcast skies.
Yeah, but the forecast is for it to really fill in today. We're expecting a little bit more sunshine, hopefully, and winds maybe even reaching the mid-teens. So it should pick up a bit as the day goes on.
All right, we'll see. Here we go. And that's the 4-minute entry. We're looking overhead with Nicole Breault in her first Congressional Cup. She's from St. Francis Yacht Club in San Francisco, California, used to sailing smaller boats. This is her first time in these big Catalina 37s. She qualified through the Ficker Cup. Zach, you were one of the Ficker Cup competitors, and we're actually lucky that you didn't qualify. I'm sorry, mate. Thanks for being with us today.
Thanks for having us.
And I know
it's awesome here to be watching the Con Cup. Even though we couldn't compete, great learnings.
And I know Tiana was your crew. And even though she's your crew, she's been basically bossing you around all week. So we're going to ask her to fill us in on what's going on. And tell us, your father sailed in the Congressional Cup, famous Australian sailor.
Yeah, so my dad's Neville Whitty, and he sailed at the Congressional Cup a few times. And it's definitely been a dream of his for me to be here, maybe sailing next time. But, you know, it's good to be here commentating as well, Tucker.
Thank you, guys. All right, Zach, Tiana, talk us through what we're going through, looking at here. 3 minutes, the dial-up.
Yeah, so we've just gone into a dial-up here, something that's very typical from the match racing. It's a little bit windier today than it has been the past couple of days, so I wouldn't expect them to kind of fall out the dial-up a little bit sooner. Breault's doing a really good job kind of keeping Poole locked into that left-hand side, and something that's definitely not the place to be.
Yeah, Nicole Breault's had a few less days than Poole in these boats, but she's definitely warmed up very well to them. As you can see, Nicole's just bailing out of the dial-up at the moment, so I'm going to try and get as far away from you as possible, or Chris Poole as possible.
Now, as you two know, they're both trying to jockey for position and get an advantage on each other, particularly for the final approach to the start, which is in 2 minutes. But Marilyn, our local weather expert here, the tacticians are looking upwind. Which side do you think they're going to want to favor when they approach the start?
Just looking up the course right now, I think we see a little bit darker water on the right-hand side, which might indicate a bit more breeze. We also see that the race committee has set up the course a little bit to the right of what we've seen earlier in the day on some of the other days of racing, and so it would have me thinking pretty hard about going to the right.
And Zach, an unusual addition in any match race is that in the background, the Belmont Pier. The teams can use it as a pick, but they can't go inside the exclusion zone. What's that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So it's continuous obstruction, which means that the boats cannot go along it. What they can do is they can fight, just as we're seeing here with Nicole, jostle for position, going across these marks. There's the orange buoys, or buoys, as we say in the rest of the world. So what happens here is that they actually try and protect this area, and it's kind of like a little safe haven where the umpires have decided for this regatta there's about a half boat length gauge here, and if the other boat goes in there, they do not have rights. So it's a really interesting feature special to Long Beach.
I think you're also getting a great shot here of the pier. This is going to be the site of the 2028 Olympic Games here in Los Angeles. We as Long Beach Yacht Club have done it up for this weekend, but I imagine much of the same is going to take place. Probably some grandstands, and I've been asking this all week, Zach. Is there anywhere else in the world where the spectators can be right on top like this?
No, definitely not. This is something that's really special. It's been really cool sailing the Thicker Cup, kind of coming across this pier and getting some cheers from the crowd as we kind of picked a couple of races off last week.
There are a few venues in the world that get this close to the action where the pier, effectively the grandstands, is part of the race, part of the pre-start that the teams have to avoid. Now we're looking at the starting line that's in the background there, top of screen, that powerboat and the buoy, the pin to the left. And we've got about 34 seconds. Chris Poole's kind of drifting a bit far forward. At some point he's going to put his bow down and dip towards the line. That's where Nicole Breault is waiting for him. Not so sure in this light air whether she can shut him out. There's plenty of gap there for Chris to go in. And if Marilyn Cassidy is right, he's set up to the right of his opponent, and that might be an advantage for the reigning Congressional Cup champion. 10 seconds to go. Trimmer's bringing the sails in, the speed coming on. And here comes the start. Race number 1, day number 3 of the 60th anniversary Congressional Cup. And we're on our way upwind with the reigning champion just to the right of Nicole Breault.
It looks like Chris has got quite a tight lane here. I don't think he's going to be able to hold it for very long, but it looks like he's going very low and fast, and looks like he's going to set up for attack kind of soon, so I don't think he can live there for very long.
Nicole Brault's angle on the left was much higher, giving Chris Poole dirty air, so he immediately squeezes into attack, onto port, away from his opponent, as you predicted, Zach. And now they split a little bit. What will Nicole do? She continues.
Looking up the course ahead of her, it does seem like that would be a little bit of a lighter wind area potentially on the course, so I'm wondering what she is thinking and if she thinks about getting out to the right.
Might be time to tack soon, particularly when the reigning champion's going the other way. Here she comes.
And Tucker, something interesting to point out, we at the Congressional Cup get to offer ride-alongs on the back of the boats. You'll see that white jacket on screen right now. On with Chris Poole, this is the City Attorney of Long Beach, Don McIntosh.
Nice. Marilyn, no one offered us a ride, did they?
Not yet, but I know Dawn, and she's actually a fabulous sailor in her own right, so I'm sure she's enjoying every second of this.
Now we've moved back to the second pre-start. You can see our time graphic, 3 minutes, 40 seconds to go between Peter Wickwire on the foreground there from Canada in his first Congressional Cup. Ian Garreta from France also in his first Congressional Cup. As both teams hit the brakes, that whistle you heard was the umpires who are floating on the water behind the sailboats making real-time calls. And that was a green flag, no penalty.
Yeah, actually
into the dial-up.
Looked quite close there. It seems like Wickwire did a late kind of maneuver, and it seems like Garreta really lined him up there. So Garreta did a good job to raise his white flag, but Wickwire managed to just kind of escape the trap there last minute.
Wickwire came into this event 3 bullets, 3 wins on day number 1 yesterday. Second day, not so good. And now he's looking to regroup.
It's looking like Greta's looking to get out of that position. If you watch their crew, hopefully they'll move their body weight together and do a nice pump to windward to really get the foils moving.
It looks like both boats are really slow right now. It seems like Garreta kind of let that kind of fall out quite nicely, and it seems like Wickwire's, again, just trying to catch up to Garreta and see if he can get onto his hip and maybe prevent a jibe along the pier.
Yeah, exactly. We're just entering that classic pre-start cat and mouse game, Zach. So Garreta's just trying to get as far away from Wickwire as he can. And it looks like Wickwire is quite slow here.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's early days in the pre-start. We've got about 2 minutes and 15 seconds left, so quite a long dial-up. But it'll be interesting to see if the pier comes into play again like we saw in the last race, or whether they try and play a different game.
Well, they got 2 minutes to sort that out as they head down towards the right-hand end of the starting line off the corner of the Belmont Pier. Best seat in the house here in Long Beach.
And I think important to note on board with Wickwire, we have the skipper, or the racer, if you will, that's been in the most Congressional Cups ever of anybody, in Steve Flam. So I think his knowledge here as they approach the pier, knowledge of the 37s, will be interesting to watch today.
60 years of the Congressional Cup, and Steve Flam has sailed in 75 of them. He's a great competitor. I talked to him yesterday. There's a few people that haven't raced with him. And there you can see the pier being used by Garreta. As Zach mentioned, you can't go in between your competitor and the exclusion zone there or risk a penalty. Minute 20 to go to this second start in light air. Just a quick note, Chris Poole, not surprisingly, is already out in front in his first match over Nicole Breault.
It looks like this pier is coming into play here. You can see the bowmen kind of waving their arms. That means that they believe that they can swing behind the other boat. And if you see them clench their fist and hold, that means that they have not got swing. So it'll be really interesting to see as they come along this pier whether they can get on the inside or not. But then again, if you go inside this area here, that will be a penalty. So it's a bit of game of cat and mouse, staying on a knife's edge to see who can push it harder than the other team.
Of course, if Wickwire can get Garreta overlapped, he can force him towards the line or even worse. But
only got 40 seconds left on the clock, so there's not a whole lot of time to kill. But Wickwire is definitely pushing Garreta really hard back to that start line.
They're roughly 15 seconds away from the starting line, but 30 seconds to go. They need to slow down and gain some time. Garreta does, luffing up to windward and kind of oversheeting his main there.
Yeah, it looks like he's trying to bait Wickwire into a hook, possibly. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a split tack start, maybe.
That was very close. Garreta now has to build speed towards the left-hand pin, end of the line. 10 seconds to go. Wickwire tacks the split away from him, but he's not going to get over the top of that signal boat. Likely going to have to tack again at the start. So is Garreta. Unusual start.
Very well-timed start there from Garreta. I mean, coming off the pin, bang on line, whereas Wickwire seems to be a little bit late. And even looks like the pin's up a little bit. Could see him cross.
Maryland, a little bit of left-hand shift here?
Yeah, there might be some left-hand shift to it. If we're looking sort of globally at the whole race course, it does seem like there could be something happening. There's a little bit of pressure coming down from the top left that could be already the direction of impacting us down here at the starting line.
Looking at the last race, we had Chris Poole went right, I believe. And it would be interesting to see if Garreta does the same thing, or whether Wickwire believes that left's going to come into play, or whether Garreta's done the right thing and gone to the right.
Yeah, absolutely. And we did see from Wickwire that he did 2 very downspeed tacks, which you just can't do in these boats. It takes a long time to get up to speed, as we worked out in the Ficker Cup.
So we'll leave them to it as Garreta tacks on to starboard to stay with his opponent and zoom back into the pre-start here, looking from upwind to downwind. That's above the start line as both teams enter. Below it at the 4-minute gun, it's Cole Tapper entering from our right of screen, left on the side of the start against Eric Monnin from Switzerland. His best finish, 3rd in the Congressional Cup before. He's done many of them. Right now he's sitting in 2nd in the qualifying overall, looking for possibly his first victory.
Seems like we've had a bit of a right shift since the last race. As you can see them kind of dialing up in a slightly different angle than we've seen the last couple. So it would be really interesting to see what happens on the race course. Maybe there's going to be a little bit more skew with those top marks.
It looks like on Tapper's boat that he's got his kite ready to go if need be. Can you see that, Zach?
I can see that. I mean, it would have been interesting to see whether he maybe wanted to go a kite up in the pre-start and trying to get maybe a downwind cross, but maybe that right shift kind of changed plans a little bit.
Yeah, having a kite up in the pre-start can be a bit scary, but I'm sure these boys can pull it off.
It looks like these boats are kind of falling out both together. Seems like the winds come back a little bit left, which kind of force the hands into the fallout. Monnin definitely does not want to be there in a compromised position with that wind shift.
Ryan, you know what I like about these Australian match racers?
What's that, Tucker?
Sounds like they know what they're talking
Just
about.
a little more than I do, at least. Yeah,
right?
that's for sure.
Take some notes.
What I will add, this is a very important race here as these two racers are fighting to be at the top of our top 4 here going into the semifinals. So this will be a big point for either or team.
It seems like Tapper, the trailing boat here in this pre-start, is definitely going a lot closer than we've seen in the last couple of matches. So he did a really good job to kind of match Monnin in his fallout.
Two minutes to go. Now both teams heading towards the Belmont Pier. Monnin leading, Tapper pushing. Tapper in his 2nd Congressional Cup finished 8th, I believe, last year out of these top competitors. And this year, fighting for the top 4. Certainly improved his game, fresh from being the skipper of the Australian Junior America's Cup in Barcelona, Spain earlier this year. Close to hitting that buoy, or buoy as you guys would say behind me, for Monnin, but no penalty. It's almost as if his wake pushed it away by inches.
So where would you want to be on the course, Zach? Would you want to be Tapper or Hansen?
It'll be really interesting. We've still got quite a bit time left on the clock, so I think, especially in this lighter breeze, definitely want to be leading in, but you don't want to be leading in too early, because then you will be pushed over the line, and that would be a really unfortunate start for these guys. Got about a minute left on the clock. Looks like Monnin's trying to push Tapper back towards the line. It'll be interesting whether he tries to go for another dip, or maybe he tries to jump Tapper.
And these boats do glide a lot upwind in the dial-up, Zach, so Monnin's not necessarily in the best position here.
Yeah, we saw yesterday a couple of shutouts at the start line. So what happens is sometimes these windward boats, like they're doing right here, went for a dial down, but they didn't actually have swing behind. And actually, we had a couple of collisions at the start boat there. Something really interesting, and something that we could actually see today as well.
30 seconds to go.
In the background, the Loins is our Long Beach Yacht Club committee boat. Randy Smith is the PRO this weekend. Special thanks to the race committee. 5 days on the water all day long for them. A long day, but a comfortable boat. And a best view in the house, really.
So 15 seconds to countdown. The boat's close to the line. Monnin going in for a hook, trying to push Tapper, trying to luff him up and get a piece of him there, but he's not going to do it. And that means dangerous for Monnin now. He'll have to tack away. There was a penalty flag flown, but no foul. And Monnin rolls immediately into attack. Maybe a little too aggressive for him and a bit too late.
Yeah, looks like Monnin rushed that one a little bit, but Tapper's matched to follow him. And it looks like Tapper is slightly lower than Monnin at the moment. So we'll just have to see if Tapper can live there.
What's really important is that these riders are massive on these boats. It's really easy to oversteer maneuvers. So as we found in the Figure Cup, we were speed building for up to a couple of minutes, really. I mean, we're trying to look for that sweet spot, 6 knots. And what's really important is as soon as you got your speed, then you can take your height. So it's really important not to get greedy and just stick that bow up immediately.
This is a great shot of Tapper and Monnin on the screen. You can see how close Monnin has his crew's weight together, whereas Tapper, although they're close, they're slightly separated. The boys are doing their best here, and girls, to have as much weight over the side as possible.
I believe Monnin's sailing with 7. Tapper sailing with 6. Crew weight, 1,153 odd pounds, something like that. Now we go back down to the pre-start yet again, looking from underneath the start here on the pier. 3 minutes, 45 seconds to go between Rocco Attili from the right, from Italy, and Dave Hood, representing the home team, Long Beach Yacht Club, as he tacks to leeward from the left side of the start. Here we go.
Looks like Hood did a really good job and kind of delayed the final tack over so that Rocco Attili got really, really close to him. So as the boat to the left here, you really want to get as close as possible to Rocco. So they're in very not a great position in terms of you kind of want to get over to the playground, which is a period just to the right of the committee boat. But if you end up in the dial-up, you want to be as close to that windward post as possible, because at the end of the day, they're a leeward boat, so they have the right of way over Rocco.
What's the danger of being on the left-hand side of the pier, of the start line, guys?
So the danger here is that if you fall out, so say if maybe Rocco fell out a little bit more into starboard and Hood was able to keep a kind of tight lane still on the starboard tack as well, then that would actually be a penalty on Rocco. But he's preventing him from tacking over, because if he tacks over like he does now, he'll be on port. So there's a potential for a port starboard or a windward-leeward collision.
So the rules have now shifted. Attili is the leeward boat. Hood is the windward boat. Doesn't want to get a collision there. Hood putting his bow down, and he'll slide to leeward and behind Attili. Attili now looking to accelerate away on port to the right of the starting area. 2 minutes, 20 seconds coming up.
It looks like two boats did very well out of a kind of compromising position for both of them. So it was good that Hood managed to get the kind of dial down, and we call that a steel bulls maneuver. So where you try and go onto port when the other boat is on starboard and try and go behind. And Rocco seemed like he did a really nice defense there and didn't allow him to cross over.
Yeah, Hood's boat handling has been really good this event, and I know that he's got reigning, 5-time Congressional Cup winner Taylor Canfield as his coach. I'm sure that's come into play a lot here, whereas I think Rocco, this is only his 2nd Congressional Cup.
Yeah, I believe you're right. Kind of old versus new almost.
Yeah, we'll see if the young blood here has any effect, or Dave Hood's years of experience, I'm sure, will come into play.
8-time club champion is Dave Hood, 5-time Catalina 37 national champion, and 2-time Long Beach Yacht Club Yachtsman of the Year. He knows a thing or two about sailing these boats in these waters as he tacks towards Attili, and both boats starting to head towards the line, still relatively early.
Yeah, just got over a minute left to the clock, so still got a bit of time to kill, but not a heap. So it'll be really interesting whether Hood goes for a full attack and tries to push him back, or he goes and tries to jump them. It'll be really interesting to see.
In this lighter weather, Zach, do you prefer leading or pushing at the start?
Good question. Yeah, so especially in this lighter kind of conditions, definitely want to be leading. So leading means that you're in front of the other boat going into the start line. So you kind of have the control of where you want to end up in the start line, versus the trailing boat kind of has to push them and kind of deals what you get, really, instead of controlling what's happening.
Of course, the key there, if you're going to lead, is timing. You don't want to be too early. Your trailing boat could push you over the line or force you into a disadvantaged position. Attili right now looking at his watch. He sees coming up on 20 seconds to go, pushing Hood towards the line. Hood will tack away to the right of his opponent onto port. 14 seconds to go. Hood about a second early, and he knows it. He's putting his bow down a little bit, and that's going to leave.
Yeah, Hood looks a little bit early here. I mean, still got about 10 seconds left on the clock. The question is, will he be able to clear that start boat, or will he have to throw a tack in?
And there's the answer. He'll tack at the signal boat, leaving Attili comfortable to sail at the pin on starboard there. And a little bit farther, a little bit more bow forward rather, and slightly better speed as Hood pounds through some waves, trying to accelerate after that tack.
Looking up the course, it does look like there's some nice breeze filling in from the right, as we kind of touched on before. So despite Hood doing 2 downspeed tacks, he is on the right-hand side and probably defending the right hand, like the correct side.
So 4 matches in play on the race course. First one heading downwind. That's Chris Poole, and Nicole Breault is just behind in the red spinnaker. That game has gotten really close. Can you imagine in her first Con Cup what an upset it would be if she can pass Chris Poole? Nicole Brault's definitely reeling him in. Their overlap. Chris Poole's spinnaker's in trouble. He has to jibe away.
Nicole definitely putting the pressure on Chris here. So the risk is that Nicole, if she slams onto his air too much, Chris is going to really struggle to keep that spinnaker, and it's going to slow down a lot more, and possibly a passing lane for Nicole.
Well, we'll keep you posted on that. They're coming downwind to the finish, and Nicole, if she wins that, it'll be a phenomenal upset. Meanwhile, in the pre-start of our feature match, we're looking at Yanni Berntsson on the left-hand side with the orange crew gear, and Bjorn Hansen, both teams from Sweden. And they certainly know how to sail against each other for many, many years. There in the background of the shot is the fight between Poole and Breault as they head for the finish. We'll keep you updated. On board with Berntsson.
You see there the bow guys at the front of the boat trying to just push the bow around with their sails.
Close to a collision there. My goodness. Hansen's to leeward on starboard. Don't hit. Oh, that may have been a little love tap there. There's a penalty flag. Someone might get a penalty out of that for sure.
Driving here.
Green flag. No penalty.
Driving.
Wow.
Driving.
Looks like Berntson's going for round 2. See what happens here.
Dizzying. Oh my goodness.
Driving here soon, guys.
Berntsson really aggressive. Man, it might be light air, but there's a lot of action in the first couple seconds of this pre-start. Just a few inches between them again. I don't know how to speak Swedish, but that was pretty tense.
The interesting thing there is that if you jibe after the other boat has jibed and you're jibing onto a right-of-way jibe, it's actually quite interesting. You've got to give the other boat an opportunity to get out of there. So they have to be doing everything they can do to get out of the way. If they don't do everything they can do, it's really up to the umpires here to decide that, then that could be a penalty.
What was equally impressive, you couldn't see on camera because we were on board, Chris Poole and Nicole Breault split the two of them right on both sides, pinning them together. So Poole took the win in that first race, and
yeah, barely.
Diving here, boys.
So we're less than a minute 40 to go. And Berntsson on board there has jibed towards the pier. He's way too early, I would think.
Yeah.
As he keeps an eye on Hansen, who jives behind him.
Copy.
They look too early to you guys?
Still to leeward.
I think there's quite a lot of time to kill here. I mean, both of these guys are very skilled match racers, so I'm sure they'll be able to manage it, but Hansen's kind of just letting Berntsson sail himself into a little bit of trouble here. So definitely don't want Berntsson to be sailing all the way to his left-hand side, but it looks like Hansen's kind of, I don't know, just waiting for something to happen almost and time his final attack. We've got 1 minute left on the clock, so still got heaps of time to kill. It'd be interesting to see when Hansen launches his attack, or if he does at all.
You can tell that Hansen really wants to defend that right-hand side.
Stand by here.
So yeah, he's just coming in now to make Joni do something and really trying to push Joni down that left-hand side of the line.
I'd say, though, that Berntsson really did a good job of sort of a high, slow build during that period while Hansen was not on the attack, bringing himself up close to the line, really trying to stay as close to the race committee signal boat as possible.
So Hansen has held back. The clock's ticked down now to only 20 seconds as Hansen puts his bow down to the right of screen towards the line. Berntsson does as well. It's going to be a relatively even start between these two teams with Hansen to the right and Berntsson to the left. 10 seconds to go. And as they prepare to cross the line, sails are in. Then it's going to quickly become a speed race with both teams on starboard and plenty of gauge between them.
So the play here for Hansen is to see if he can hold Joni all the way to that port ley line. If he does, then suddenly he can time his attack perfectly on the ley line and means that Joni has to sail some extra distance and or in some dirty air, which means that he'll be really safe around the top mark. But that's only if he can hold his lane all the way to the pin.
All right. You can see in the foreground there, the orange spinnaker is Ian Garreta, wrapping up his match over Canada's Peter Wickwire.
That's good for us.
It's a good time to mention you can follow the scores real-time online on both the Congressional Cup, thecongressionalcup.com website, and also World Match Racing Tour. We'll be updating the scores real-time and broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook around the world. Tell your friends to join us here in Long Beach for the next 3 days as we're on board with Bjorn Hansen. Every subtle move counts with the trimmers and the steering. You can see him just adjusting the boat. Same situation there with Joni Berntsson.
Yeah.
Joni's crew seems to be off the rail, indicating a little bit lighter air in his boat. We've been making fun of Joni all week because of their orange crew gear. Now he's wearing a black jacket and blue gloves. You think he's been listening?
Header.
That could be my fault, but I do love the orange on him, so I'm not sure why he's not wearing it.
We are faster, we're a lot faster.
On Berntsson, yeah. Now, at some point, we're going to hit the ley line, right? This can't last forever.
We do say that, but I think they want to go all the way as far as they possibly can. Yeah, so it'll be really interesting with Berntsson whether he decides to try and tack and duck and kind of bring that match more into the center, or where he's happy to trail around the top mark and maybe launch an attack for this downwind.
Zach, do they have to tack on lay?
They definitely do not. But as a windward boat here leading in, you definitely want to be on a what we call a safe lay. So a safe lay is where you maybe go a boat length or maybe max 2 over your normal lay line, just so you know that you're going to be safe going in. You won't have to throw another tack or luff in. So this is what I'll probably see them kind of start to talk about on board and probably go for. But as you said, T, they don't have to tack on lay, so they could go as far as they wanted to. They can even hit the seawall, or not hit it, but get close to it.
Hansen was so close to the seawall on the way in yesterday, he actually ran aground. A little love tap. He informed us at the bottom is, in fact, sandy. So I suppose it's a good thing. Now both teams attacked. Hansen on the ley line, and Berntsson just a little bit above to keep his air clear.
We're quite accelerating. We're low.
Berntsson behind, but certainly close enough to attack on the run, downwind.
Yeah, we're still going to stay with...
Also, there's really good separation between these two boats. It looks like both boats know exactly what the play is here, kind of textbook kind of maneuvers here from both boats. It'll be interesting to see how they match around this top mark and how close they'll actually get.
As we've seen, it can be quite a strong position to round just behind the leading boat. So I'd say we don't know. Yeah, everyone's still in this at the moment.
Now you can hear on board with Berntsson. Scott Dixon, local Long Beach sailor, is the tactician on board. So it's a mix between Swedish and English. Let's listen in.
Tänker du på det nu när vi är på baborden, Micke, att du får på varven, inte för hårt och i med ett vevantal?
Yeah. Yeah, let's speed her a bit.
Lite.
Yeah. He's speeding also.
You can hear the sails being eased, bows going down, ready for the hoist, bowman plugging in the pole, and the spinnaker for the set. 2 lengths to go for Hansen, and just behind is Berntsson. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay, everybody ready for early jibe. It's match jibe, whatever.
Match. So he's already calling the next move, which is to match Hansen's move if Hansen jibes. Oh, it's the yellow mark, so we have a little bit farther to go. So there are different marks depending on the wind direction. We're going to the yellow mark now. Hansen is at it, and Berntsson just behind. Here's the spinnaker set. First for Hansen.
And half a boat length, and hoist.
Length and a half behind is Berntsson.
We're quite high.
Beautiful set.
Nej, säg till när ni kan jippa. Okej, gå på jipp här. 2, 1, jipp.
Diving, guys, diving.
And there's Berntsson, as he said, matching Hansen's move. So the first jibe is Hansen jibing onto starboard.
Lift.
Berntsson responds. Usually you'd expect the windward boat to be a little higher coming out of that.
Yeah, so the play here for the green kite is to try and roll on top. They've got a long way to go into the finish. So what we could see is maybe a long-term move of either a roll, or what they'll try and do is slow down Hansen and maybe dive down the inside and maybe prevent their jibe. So the long way round or the short way round, either way works, but it's really interesting to see which one they pick.
Right now it's the long way round for Berntsson, right?
Yeah, it looks like it.
Hansen's doing a really nice job here of just maintaining his speed and matching the angle of Hansen without matching the angle of Joni, without getting baited into coming up too much. He just needs to try and sail his own race and keep his air as clear as possible.
And that's why he's facing backwards while driving, keeping his eye on Berntsson rather than ahead, making sure his air is clear. It's a jibe from behind. You can hear some screaming going on. That's Berntsson splitting away from his opponent. Good call or not? What do you make of it?
Yeah, looking at the call, so we can see a little bit more from the commentary box. Seems like there's some nice breeze behind the green kite, so it could be an opportunity for maybe go for a short split, maybe take it back and try and kind of catch him on starboard. Or, well, you can see him jibing, it's probably doing that move, but he also might want to see that left-hand mark around the bottom. So it could be a short-term move to try and maybe get a penalty or push the other boat out, or long-term move and maybe try and protect that left-hand turn.
You can turn left or right at the bottom of the track. 1 mark at the top, 2 at the bottom as a gate in match racing, as we know. And has it been a gain? Yes, definitely a gain for Berntsson. That was a good move. And Hansen will jibe just in front and on top of him. Now Berntsson looking for an overlap. Trying to sail Hansen away from jibing to the leeward gates. Powerful position for Berntsson. Big gain.
Yeah, there's definitely been a change of control here. If I was Berntsson, I would be trying to take Hansen as far out as possible and make his life as hard as possible to round that bottom gate.
He's doing a good job of it right now.
Yeah, we call this move downwind jail. So the jail part is that they have no opportunity to jibe. So the only out without Berntsson letting them off is to probably go for a tack round, which would be incredibly slow and actually going the wrong way. So Berntsson would be looking for him to drop his spinnaker and maybe move for that tack, maybe even try and luff him into one, and he might peel away for a jibe.
So Hansen's done a really good job here of matching what Berntsson's team is doing. When Berntsson went for a jib up, so did Hansen. This means that they're more prepared for whatever might come.
Now keep in mind, the marks are behind them. They need to turn left. They need to jibe, and it's going to be an aggressive turn. Here it comes. Berntsson going first. Hansen a little bit out of sorts there, so it was a good time for the orange team to jibe and drop the spinnaker, but they let go of it. The crew was trying to drop the kite, but the bowman let go, but now it's flopping in the breeze. That is not good for Berntsson. Hansen coming in from behind, had a beautiful set. They can't get the spinnaker under control.
Hey!
This is incredibly close. I mean, as a boat in control, and they definitely are not in control right now, then the risk is that they either go for a kind of round the outside or see if they can get dive on the inside. Seems like they're getting the kite under control and back in the boat, but this is definitely a very slow maneuver for him.
Could Hansen have gone inside there, or no? That wouldn't have been a good call. He's going to go around the outside. That's lucky for Berntsson after that total disaster.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would have gone above.
He's tacking! He's tacking!
You never want the umpires to decide your match, but they are definitely in this one. There's the first penalty. It's green. No collision, no foul yet. Berntsson, does he have rights inside? Hansen's going to have to avoid.
For fuck's sake, he's tacking! Okay, segla.
Yellow flag penalty. You knew someone was going to get caught by it. Who was it? Hansen. Oh, Hansen could get a second penalty out of this if he gains a big advantage. Berntson's in huge trouble as Hansen pulls forward. Another penalty from the from on board. We're going to see if the umpires have a call. It's a red flag penalty. Big trouble for Hansen. He gained an advantage, and he now has to spin one of two penalties right away while Berntsson tries to get back in this match. Kirk Brown.
Yes, he was given a red flag penalty for gaining a controlling position after allowing for a penalty. So he has to do a penalty right now.
And then he still has yet another one with that yellow flag to spin later in the match. So it's an advantage Berntsson, even though it looked ugly.
What will be interesting to see is whether the umpires feel like he needs to do multiple penalties. Often we see with the red flag is that it's an immediate penalty to try and kind of even out the match. And because he's got such an advantage out of here, it could be interesting to see whether they give him another one.
I love it when the action's like that. So he has spun his first penalty, and he's still ahead.
They gave another red flag penalty because he was still in a controlling position. The idea here is they want to put him behind, and that will happen shortly.
So they can just keep spinning him until finally Berntsson gets behind. And there's the red flag again. Thank you, Kirk.
So the risk is here is that if he doesn't start doing his penalties soon, he could be given either another one or even a black flag, which would be a major game over move. So it looks like the red's been dropped.
Wow.
The umpires awarded another umpire-initiated penalty because he wasn't doing the penalty turn promptly.
Oh, man. This reminds me of my son when he was really bad. He just kept getting punished. At some point, you got to say, Uncle. Just kidding, Philip, if you're watching.
Are you allowed to do your penalty turns inside the mark zone, though?
No, absolutely not. So when you're going around a mark, you must clear the mark and be on the new leg before you do that penalty clear. What's interesting to see is that he's still got an outstanding yellow penalty. So with that one penalty still remaining, he doesn't have to do it straight away. Unlike the red one or a double, he can wait all the way until the finish. So it'll be interesting to see whether he tries to maybe offset it with a counter penalty against his opponent, or whether he tries to get far enough in front where he can clear it, maybe on this finish line.
Copy. Can I do?
Scotty Dixon, the tactician, telling Yanni Berntsson to go straight, extend here, build some pace to the right of their opponent. This is what I love most about match racing. You can be behind in a match and then turn things around in the blink of an eye. Sails flapping all over the place, multiple penalties, screaming and yelling, bad words in both languages, and then all of a sudden when the smoke clears, the boat that was behind is now ahead, and the boat that was ahead has another penalty to do as Berntsson tacks in the lead to stay with Hansen.
A little more acceleration. 2, 1, and up.
2, 1, upp.
Work with me, boys.
Tidigare eller tydligare? Ja.
The next convergence between the two teams is a comfortable cross for Berntsson, and he's on starboard under the rights. Under the rules, rather, he has rights. And Hansen still has that penalty.
Yeah, I'll be pretty happy if I was Johnny here. I mean, ahead by quite a distance with an outstanding penalty on the other opponent. This is looking pretty good for him.
Yeah, Johnny just needs to stay calm and in front and not make any mistakes.
2-1 och lyft.
23 years I've been covering this event. I've seen it all. And a trailing boat in a position like Hansen could still catch up and turn the tide here in Long Beach. It's not over till it's over. Far from it as the two teams head to the top mark again. 2 laps or 4 legs of this match racing course. The first 4 flights, or matches rather, in this flight are complete. Poole won his match, Garreta won his, Monnin, and then Hood, I believe, beat Attili. Now we're watching Berntsson lead Hansen into the top mark for the second time.
Good job, boys.
Okay, gubbar, fortfarande striking distance.
It's still in an attacking position. No, we're fighting. We're laying for sure. Take the height, please, until you know where the mark is. I am. One boat lane, half a boat.
Did you hear what Hansen said there? Blah, 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 striking distance.
1 and hoist.
So that means he's already considering whether he can catch up on the downwind run.
I actually reached out to a friend of mine who's a good Swedish translator, but I haven't heard back yet. We'll be getting a debrief later.
3, 2, 1, go.
So there's the difference between the two teams as Berntsson heads for the finish, holding off Hansen. Hansen, if he can catch up, still has to get rid of that penalty by spinning a 270-degree turn or giving Berntsson an offsetting penalty and equalizing it and then beating his opponent to the finish. And we've got about 4.5 minutes probably in this leg to do it. A tall order, maybe?
It's a tall order, but I would never say never. In match racing, I think we've all certainly seen stranger things.
Yeah, for sure. We've seen trawls around the bottom mark. We've seen kite hatters accidentally come down. We've seen people even to stop the boat through maneuvers. So, I mean, these guys are absolute class acts, but anything can really happen.
I've seen crews fall in the water, too. With a sharp bluff, 2 guys just got shot straight into the water. You never know.
Because he has a penalty, yeah.
I always find television, what's bad for sailors is fantastic for TV. Hansen looks like he's gained a little bit there. No question. Reeling Berntsson in a little bit. Berntsson knows it too. He's just looking over his shoulder, keeping an eye on his countrymen.
Let's just go.
So for the back boat here, you'll be looking to try and soak down and try and line up your return back to this line. So the idea is that you kind of separate a little bit so that when the leading boat here in the green kite puts the jibe in, you're able to stick right on his air and maybe get a roll in just before the finish line. There's still quite a bit of this race left. They're probably about, I don't know, just over 50% down this run. So still lots to play for.
Are you working with the main for this new angle? Yeah, good.
Scott Dixon looking for the next shift.
I think that when we do the jibe, we will come out really high.
He will make the call. Tell Yanni Berntsson when to turn, when to jibe. You heard Yanni say we're going to come out high, keep our air clear. And this crew on board Hansen is ready for it. Ready to pounce in the jibe. We're getting to it pretty soon because the finish line is coming up. Here we go. Looks like Hansen's crew beat Berntsson to the jibe.
Lift.
That light blue spinnaker to the right, just trying to blanket the breeze of the green kite to the left. Finish line in the background there, just out of frame to our left of screen. Berntsson is closer to it. Remember, Hansen still has that penalty to turn.
Press.
Yep, no need to come down. Come index forward of him. Yeah, way up faster.
Less than a minute to go now. As Berntsson and crew start to exhale, what an incredible race. It's a lot of match racing that goes on in Sweden. These are some of the top 2 in the game. That was an impressive victory for Yanni Berntsson and his crew. And Björn Hansen already talking about what they could have done better. as Berntsson crosses the line victorious. Give him a round of applause, folks, on the Belmont Pier. Yanni Berntsson and crew. Fantastic job.
Men det är helt otroligt, de här två gröna liksom. Första i prisstarten, andra vid märket där. Han var ju liksom på styrbords halsa.
Okay, folks, well, that was pretty exciting. Finally going to catch our breath after that match. We're going to take a short break and wait for the race committee to roll into the next starts. But first, we'll see if we can get an interview from one or maybe even both of those sailors in our feature match. In English, of course. I can't wait to hear what Hansen has to say about those dizzying penalty turns that put him behind. And the English-Swedish combination on Yanni Berntsson's team got the best of Hansen in that match. Let's see if we can. Let's go on board with the winner. Yanni Berntsson, here we go.
Yeah, here we are. We just raced our friend Björn Hansen, and it was a really important race for us, and it was really tight during the race course. They were just leading in at the top mark, and we rolled them actually and could hook them on the first downwind, and then we had a really tight duel with penalties flying, and we got stuck at the mark, but the umpires did a really good call there to continue give them penalties, and we could go on racing there. So yeah, good win for us, and we're happy about coming out from that.
Well done, Yanni Berntsson and crew. Do you ever notice that they tend to credit the umpires when the penalties go their way and blame the umpires when they don't? Well, one who might not agree with all of those dizzying penalties is Björn Hansen, and we'll hear from him in a moment. There we are, live on the Belmont Pier, folks. Hello from Long Beach. Our drone shot, Mikey Fratt flying the drone. Wave to him, folks. You're live around the world here from the Congressional Cup. That pier is going to be jam-packed, standing room only by Sunday afternoon.
You know, upstairs in that little glass room you see there is our Club 100's viewing platform up in the loft. They've got food from the Grand, who's one of our sponsors. See, Bacardi Rum is a new sponsor this year, so lots of Bacardi cocktails up there. The Congressional Cup Stadium here at the Belmont Veterans Memorial Pier is the best spot to be to watch match racing.
In the whole world.
Everywhere.
Okay, well, two sailors who are not here are two teams that have won this event before, Ian Williams and Gavin Brady, but we did have a chance to check in with them. Let's see what they have to say.
Gotta get going, guys. Ease the shoot.
For those of you out on the pier and those of you watching at home, we've introduced something very special this year for the 60th anniversary Congressional Cup. Back at the club, we have a room dedicated. Catch this, guys. The Congressional Cup Theater is showing some of the historical match racing that's taken place here at the Congressional Cup. And 60 years ago, Tucker, they were really forward-thinking because they actually filmed the very first Congressional Cup. There's an actual film produced called the Dacron Legion. I had to ask what Dacron, what was important about that, and that's what they made the sails out of back then. So pretty cool, right? So you can go check out some actual footage from 60 years ago in 1965, the first Congressional Cup at the Yacht Club. Also,
Well, and not just the footage. They take you through the whole story of each day and each race. It is so well produced back then. They're way ahead of their time. And they didn't have all the technology that we have here today to bring this to you guys live around the world. But even back then, it was a compelling story. It was so well done. I watched it this morning.
Really, yeah. So make sure if you guys have a few minutes, pop your head in. It's downstairs in the yacht club, running on a continuous loop. Also, I don't know if you knew this, Tucker, there's a second video playing in there. 10 years ago, for the 50th anniversary of the Congressional Cup, we actually filmed back then, and we put a recap video together. Do you know who produced that one?
That was a good tee up there. I like that. Yes. We produced it, my old production company, T2P TV. We traveled around the world to regattas for 3 years. And every time we found one of the top sailors that had won the Congressional Cup, and there are many of them in the top level of the sport now, as you might imagine, we would sit down with them and interview legends like, Dennis Conner and even Bill Ficker. We interviewed him, who started the Ficker Cup, as you know, a famous America's Cup sailor here from Long Beach Yacht Club, and that's the qualifying event for this. And we got to hear from Russell Coots and Ed Baird and Ken Reed and all these fantastic sailors about what makes the Congressional Cup so spectacular, and weave it all together through the history of 50 years. Now, 10 years later, here we are in the 60th anniversary edition. And speaking of reliving history, two of the competitors that we interviewed were Ian Williams and Gavin Brady. Both of them have won this event multiple times. Here's a quick look back in history.
Gotta get going, guys. Ease the shoot.
Congressional Cup, such a fantastic event. It's so much fun.
Come on, no room. Going to be a penalty between. There's no boundaries there.
Winning the Congressional Cup in the 90s, put me on the world stage and got me my first America's Cup job. It's somewhat defined by the people that have been there and not been able to win it. Russell Coots, James Spithill, Ben Ainsley, all been there, tried to win it. For us, being on 5 wins, that's fantastic. Any opportunity to win the Congressional Cup and to certainly win it more than once is an honour and it's something you should feel proud of.
When it comes to one of the most important decisions of your life, your future, your freedom, your legacy, selling your business shouldn't be complicated. At Plethora Businesses, we help business owners sell smarter, faster, and for the highest value they deserve. From valuation to closing, we're with you every step of the way. Visit plethorabusinesses.com to start your next chapter.
I'm Long Beach Mayor Rex Richardson, and I'm proud to welcome you to the 60th Congressional Cup, one of the world's premier sailing regattas. Hosted by the Long Beach Yacht Club, this iconic event highlights why Long Beach is a top global destination for competitive sailing. Join us April 30th to May 4th for spectacular views of the vibrant spinnakers dancing on our water, to the exciting close-up action visible from the Belmont Pier, right where Olympic sailors will soon begin to train for LA 28. To all our guests, our competitors, welcome to the city of Long Beach. Thank you.
All right, welcome back, folks. Here we go. Flight 13 is now complete. That is the fourth flight of the second round robin qualifying, and now we're about to see the pre-start entry of the first match in Flight 14. It's going to be Eric Monnin, Ian Garreta, and Marilyn. Just give us an update of why that last match was so important and how we're looking on the fight for the top four.
Yeah, really exciting updates after that first flight of the day. We still have Poole leading the pack with Monnin close behind, but there's been a little bit of a mix-up down below that. So Tapper and Dave Hood are tied for third on 8 and 5, but now Hansen and Berntsson are tied for fifth with 7 wins and 6 losses each. So really, really big match to bring all the points at the top of the leaderboard much closer together, and just that much more for everyone to fight for.
Well, that certainly shows how important that last match win was for Yanni Berntsson. Of course, only the top 4 will move on tomorrow to the semifinals. That's what each of these 10 teams is fighting for as we look at the pre-start dial-up. Eric Monnin to windward in the background there, sitting in second place currently, and Ian Garreta from France in his first Congressional Cup. Was that big powerboat that just went by and gave the waves to that? Wasn't very nice, was it? we're in an international match race here, guys. Boat starting to back up a little bit. Monnin it's just building a little bit of pace before what likely attack away. What do you think? Talk us through what's going on here, Zach.
Yeah, it was interesting. It almost looked like Monnin was maybe looking like Garreta was stopped, so maybe he was thinking about going around the bow. Could have been a possibility. But looks like he's gone into attack, but he looks slow. Really, really slow. So it'll be interesting to see if Garreta can do a better job of attack and maybe close that gauge a little bit.
Monnin is a light air master. What looked slow is now turned into a speed build away from Garreta. How much time have we got? 2 minutes, 20 seconds to go. No more dial-up. Monnin came into this event with a couple victories, then he lost a few, and since then I don't think he's lost any. And that slid him right into second place behind Chris Poole. But once the top 4 move to the semifinals, the scores are wiped clean. We start over. The bottom 6 go into a fleet race. The top 4 move on in the Congressional Cup. There's the Belmont Pier where we are in the background. And we've got 1:45 to go as the teams head towards the pier, with number 10, Monnin, leading Garreta.
And important to note, as you guys are watching at home, the pier is open for viewing all weekend long. You're welcome, whether or not you're a yacht club member, anyone is welcome out on the pier. There's great viewing opportunities, food courtesy of Bowie's Restaurant at the bottom of the pier. And as I mentioned, our Club 100 food courtesy of the Grand, who is one of our sponsors upstairs. If you're a yacht club member, you have the option to join Club 100, and we are so proud to have all of our Club 100 members who have joined this year and are taking part with one of the best viewing opportunities for the 60th Annual Congressional Cup.
Now the boat's getting close as they both head back towards the line, kind of fishtailing there. The trailing boat trying to get an overlap. But can he go in between the exclusion zone buoy?
So it's incredibly close. So the umpires have a rule for this regatta that they have a half a boat length kind of leniency going into this exclusion zone. So it looks like Garreta knew that and seems like he's just trying to push him back. Although both boats look like they're almost on pin lay. Monnin maybe on a tighter lay, Garreta just slightly above. So it'll be interesting to see whether Garreta either pushes him a little bit harder towards that pin or maybe tries to prevent him from tacking.
Just as you say that both boats are getting a puff of breeze and accelerating and starting to lift a little bit higher on starboard there. Now Monnin from the left-hand or leeward side of his opponent luffs up and slows Garreta down. Garreta's not going to bite. Stays to windward. How much time? Coming up on 10 seconds to go. Garreta finally is going to split. A full speed tack away onto port, and that's going to leave Monnin towards the pin.
Yeah, it's pretty close here. Looks like Monnin's going to have a clear start, but it was pretty tight on the pin there. And we've got Garreta heading out to the right, which, as we have seen previously, has paid off. So it looks like Garreta's pretty fast at the moment. I'd be looking at going back and defending that right-hand side.
Well, and you could start to the left of your opponent, maybe a little bit pin forward here, but you've got to tack right away if there's a split. And you wouldn't think Monnin would go too much farther, would you? As he gets wound up a little bit, maybe that's why he hasn't tacked. Here it comes. So who has the early advantage then in this split, do you think?
I'd say Garreta has the early advantage.
Garreta looks better. Glad you guys are here. Because as you know, from the past 2 days while we weren't broadcasting, the jokes only get worse throughout the day.
I have to agree with you there. So Monnin did a good job, although he was heading out to the wrong side, potentially. He did a really good job of waiting until he was up to speed to tack, because there is no point in tacking when you're down speed.
Now we move back to our feature match in this flight. The second start of the fifth flight, round robin 2. It's Tapper to the right on starboard from Australia in his second Congressional Cup. We're on board with him now, and right there is American Dave Hood from Long Beach Yacht Club, who's been practicing for years for this moment. This is his 4th Congressional Cup. He's doing very well to be fighting for the top 4. Both of these teams need this win.
Coming back up now. We're likely to match.
It's interesting here. Looks like Hood is trying to close that gauge as much as he can, possibly actually being on port. Now the risk is that if Tapper then puts the bow down and Hood is not able to get back onto starboard, that could be a penalty opportunity. But looks like both boats are just happy to sit here. Looks like Tapper's trying to get that bow more in the upwind and try and keep that gauge open. Cool, calm and collected toward Tapper's boat.
Wheel right, wheel to the right, wheel to the right, wheel to the right. Falling to port here, guys. Yep. Hold there. Jib left.
Zach, what are the bowmen doing at the front holding the jibs? Why are they holding them like that?
Yeah, so especially with these long boats with such a big bow, what they can actually do is use the foremost sail, so the jib in this case, or genoa, to try and move the bow onto either side of the wind. So you see the bowman trying to push the sail out to one side, and that usually does the opposite to the bow and tries to push it with the wind down without moving the boat forwards.
And that helped both boats that were stopped relatively down speed to fall onto port now. Tapper accelerates away first. Hood with his crew weight kind of rolling to windward there to try and accelerate up to speed and catch up with Tapper. Tapper's got enough distance there to jibe around onto starboard and have a go at Dave Hood if he wants to, but he doesn't yet. Coming up on 2 minutes to go.
I think we have to lead from here, don't we?
Looks like Tapper's got some really nice speed going out to the playground area. It'll be interesting to see when he decides to come back. Got just under 2 minutes left on the clock. So not really too rushed to come back yet, with a lot of time to kill.
Now we already know that Tapper has said we're going to lead from here, which means he will turn back towards the line first. Now Hood can actually steal that move from him, and he does. Leading back in light air is strong. Now it's Hood leading towards the line with Tapper slowing down to windward.
Was a really interesting move by Hood there, as he actually kept the jib backed onto the wrong side of the boat. So by doing that, he's really trying to stall the sails deliberately to try and slow down, because these boats have a lot of momentum and it's really hard to stop these boats, but it's also really hard to get them going again. So it's a really good game of trying to preserve energy when needed or get rid of it if you...
Good call. So Hood went back too early, used up a bit of that time on the clock. Now Tapper has come in and decided to be the aggressor. Going for Hood's transom there to try and get a hook. The bowman swinging his arm up and down, saying, "You do not have an overlap yet, Tapper." Hood springs away from him to leeward. Both boats fishtailing. The bows swing out of position there. Finally, Tapper decides he's not going to go for a hook anymore. We've got 40 seconds to go. We'll head for the line, but both boats are early.
Stay with me, okay? Coming up now. Coming up, Dave. Coming up. Keep coming up. Go time's like 20 at the boat. Hold angle there. Hold there. Hold there. Cut jib. Ready to come down. Coming down now, Dave. Down.
20 seconds.
Coming down.
Tapper can't live in that position.
Building a little. Down.
Both boats falling down onto starboard.
Hold angle there. Angle's good.
Can we tack? Yep.
Hood heading towards the pin. Tapper looking for enough speed to turn and tack away from him. 3 seconds to go. Hood, beautiful. Wind up to full speed at the pin.
2, 1, squeeze.
Tapper tacks away a little bit slow. But Tapper has the right-hand side.
Yeah, absolutely. Tapper did a good job here despite having the down speed tack that he is splitting out to that right-hand side. And he did set himself up further enough down the line that he could clear the boat on port.
I was just going to ask you why he waited so long, and I think you just answered it. Do they have shoes in Australia?
No, we actually go grocery shopping barefoot.
3, 2, 1. Angle there, Dave.
Now you can
Hold it there,
hear
let it load.
Dave Hood has tacked to stay with his opponent, which the left boat typically does
Perfect.
in this
Pressure's coming on now.
right-favored
I want to go a
wind
little
direction.
further.
Actually, Hood looks pretty good out there, to my eye.
I got a bit more righty through green. Happy with this jib setting, hey, okay, pretty close here, Fruin.
Now you can't see it. Well, actually, if you look just to the,
2, 1. Tacking.
just in the background there of the boat that's turning their Tapper on the left of the stream, is the oil island. And they know if they get any closer to that, they're going to go slow down, so they tack away onto starboard. We're going to have our first cross right
A little
here.
bit of gas here, Dave. Just hold straight. Nearly a piece. It's pretty weak if though.
Nearly a piece. What's he saying?
He's got a piece.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be quite close here. I mean, it's interesting. Coles is communicating to his tactician Fruin just to see whether we're trying to figure out exactly what their next move is going to be. So they're coming across with starboard advantage. So the other boat, the USA Hood, must give way to Tapper coming across here. So it'll be interesting to see what the move is. Could be a lee bow tack coming
We're
here.
going to get out of here. Yeah, stand by, guys.
And he does. Lee bow.
2,
Tack for Hood, and that forces Tapper away.
Tapper's done a really nice job of tacking out of phase so that both boats aren't matching each other at this stage.
And protecting the right, giving him starboard advantage. So Hood was a little bow forward, but can't get across
1, here we go, tacking now.
as the left-hand boat. Here he comes again onto port.
2, 1, angle there. Hold it there, let it build. Hold it there.
It's Chris Steele, the tactician,
He's going to be stronger.
just kind of coaxing the crew through the maneuvers.
Around the top here. See, on lay. Angle's good there. We'll duck him here. Just going straight. He'll probably lee bow, okay? Just stay fast here.
So Hood's lost a little bit there. Now ducking
Stand by to
Tapper,
tack
who's
here.
gained.
3, 2, 1, tacking now.
Exactly as Chris called it.
3, 2,
Tapper tacked on
1.
top of
Angle there, down 1.
Hood, and Hood tacks away.
Hold there. Got to build speed here, okay?
So you can see here Tapper just protecting his right-hand side, and it looks like we've had a bit of a right shift and a little bit more pressure on that right-hand side. So Tapper's definitely want to be protecting at all costs that right-hand side, especially when we come to his top mark. He's going to have starboard advantage again. So even if they're bow even, Tapper's still going to come out in front, coming in from the right.
2, 1, squeeze.
Counting the crew weight as they pump the boat to windward there and accelerate out of that tack. Tapper gaining
Obviously,
from
he's
the
going to
right.
go all the way, right? I think our builds towards them are really good, and our builds away are not so good.
Now, are these two guys from Australia? Because they have shoes on.
Going to probably stay at this angle.
Yeah, you can really tell who are the true Aussies and who are the kind of imposters on board. You can see Max Brennan there, who's a guy with the very yellow Goldilocks-like hair. He's actually a local from Balboa, just downstream from us.
That explains the shoes. And which mark are we going to? Yellow?
Yeah, yellow mark.
All right, so Hood has tacked in the background here. Let's listen on board. Tapper.
Yeah. Stand by tack. It will be a hoist straight away. Yeah. 2, 1. Tacking. Hold high, okay? Just hold it high. 2, 1. Coming away and go hoist. Go hoist. Down, down. Here we go. Round the mark now. Smooth turn. Smooth in it, please. Keep the speed.
This is a good match.
Stay high, Dave. Stay high. Stay high. Going over him here. Up 2, Dave. Up 2. Up 2. Up 2. Good angle there. 2, please. Yep. Here. Good angle there, Dave. Get ready to jibe at him. On his breeze here.
Now it's gotten closer. Hood on top of Tapper's breeze. You can hear Chris Steele talking about it.
Angle's good there, no lower. Up one.
That's a good
Up
gain
two.
for Hood. The bad
Hold
news
angle
is
there,
Tapper's
good.
kind of pinning
Stand by
him
to soak.
I'm from here,
Soaking two now.
from
Soaking
jibing.
two. Soaking two, please,
So
Dave.
the interesting
Soaking.
thing here that's been different from other matches is that the right-hand side has
Hold angle
definitely got a lot
there.
more
Stand by
pressure.
jibe in three,
So that's like where you can
two,
kind of see
one.
Hood
Here we
try
go,
and
jibing.
protect that right-hand side, looking upwind, which is left-hand side on your screen, and just trying to go on top of Tapper. Normally, you would try and dive down the inside and then set up for the next jibe coming down.
Up two, come on, mate.
My main's affected.
Yeah. Settle it down.
Good pressure
Really
here.
strong
We'll just
spot
get the
here.
boat accelerating, we'll go back.
You just heard the main trimmer on Tapper's
Yep,
boat say,
nice
my
gains
main's
there.
affected. That means Hood's
Down one, Dave.
sails are stealing the breeze of the leeward boat. Tapper there, and they know it.
Nice.
And you heard
I got
Hood's
good pressure
crew.
inside here. Stand by
Nice
jibe.
gain here. So
So,
with the advantage shifting to
jibing.
the trailing boat, being able to steal the breeze from the lead boat, Tapper is losing a little bit to Hood on this downwind run. He's got to go into defensive mode here just to keep his air
Good
clear
angle
and
there.
stay between his opponent behind and the next mark ahead.
this breeze here. Nice work.
You can see Hood just really trying to protect that right-hand side looking up, which is the left-hand
over his
side, of
main
course,
right
on your
now.
screens.
Little high
He's
here,
always
guys.
leading that jibe back, and Tapper's just having to respond there. So you can see Dave Hood is definitely controlling the game, even though he's from behind.
Letting him.
This
You'll
time,
know,
Tapper
Brennan.
didn't bite.
Okay, stand by. Two.
It looks like Tapper's trying to go for that air
jibing.
behind
We're straight
jibe.
into a like Kiwi left, yeah?
Tapper talking
be
about
hot for a
turning
sec.
left at the bottom gate. That means he'll favor the right-hand
left
side as we
coming,
look
yeah?
upwind.
Want to be slightly hot in here, Breno, so we've got a fast left.
Some awesome moves there from his main trimmer, trying to
comes
keep
back.
that,
That's good for
brace down. So especially when they don't have the pole, the kite's really unstable. So it's up to the crew to try and make sure that kite's breathing as best as it can.
Happy to drop on the way into the jibe.
Three,
Keeping it fast here,
two,
guys.
one.
Weight across, throwing, jibing.
Two jibes for Dave Hood. Just gave a little bit more dirty air to Tapper and also set them up for a right-hand
Weight down.
turn to head to the left-hand side as they split from
Squeeze.
Tapper, who is in the lead.
A while. Weight on the side, please.
Tapper's doing a nice job here. He's really sailing towards the mark, whereas Hood is sailing away
Just
from the
getting
mark
real
at the
slow
moment.
into these bottoms, eh?
Yeah, it was a really nice, calm, collective bottom arc running from Tapper.
Yeah, I'm
Early
happy with
drop,
that.
so when you're in front, you don't want to be rushing things too much, because the worst thing you can do is pop that kite in the water and go fishing, and that is incredibly slow. So
Hansen looks good. I'm
nice
just
and calm
letting us
from
get set
Tapper's
up.
team, and just protecting that right-hand side. As we see for the last lap,
Yeah,
that
great.
worked really well.
Okay,
I
stand
wouldn't be
by, guys.
surprised if it works again this lap.
Just a quick update. Thanks, Marilyn. That's Monnin losing his first match to Ian Garreta. His first match in the past day and a half, rather.
2, 1, big squeeze.
That won't help Garreta as much as it will hurt Monnin as they head to the finish. Back on board, Tapper and Hood.
Stand by to attack here in 3, 2,
Line me
1.
up.
Attacking now. We're just a long way left on the course.
Okay, he's back.
3,
We're just bouncing into that lay, okay?
1. Angle. He's got big righty with pressure now. Nice there, let it load. Increase coming here in 10, Teddy.
Yeah. Now, want to stay fast? We're tacking in 15 seconds, okay?
And real quick, there's your look at Garreta
Happy with that.
taking a point over Eric Monnin.
Nice. Keep it fast here. He
10
will hit us.
seconds.
As we mentioned earlier. Now, collision course for both teams. Hood has to avoid.
One.
Tapper has rights under the rules, but
Attacking in
Tapper's
3,
going to tack
2,
ahead into leeward.
1. Here we go.
That hurts
Hood.
Hood's sails, his speed, and Hood knows it, so he'll tack away. But Hood is gaining.
1. Angle there, Dave. Hold
Yeah,
it there.
Hood's been
Gonna go
staying in
pretty
touch
much
with
his own
Tapper
here, I
the
think.
whole time. He's doing a really nice job of just staying close behind him.
Up, Dave.
Well, we saw Hood gain on the first run. We see Hood gaining a little bit here. Tapper knows it.
Take it up, please.
Yeah, agreed.
No change, eh?
That is the most unusual looking way to sit for a
Stand
skipper
by.
I've seen in a long time.
2,
The one knee up,
1.
barefoot, squat.
Tacking.
Kind of matches his funny floppy hat he's wearing, doesn't it?
Sitting like a monkey. You know, like
big squeeze.
kind of perched on his bare feet there. Sorry, Cole. Doing a good job.
Better there.
Now collision course again. Tapper on
Gotta stay
starboard.
fast here.
Has rights. Hood has to avoid if it's close. Is it close? We'll see.
Stand by.
Looks like I just saw Hood's bow just dip down a little bit, just get quite a lot of speed. So he could be doing two things, either going for the duck or going for attack. So either way, he's perfectly set up. So lots of boat speed, especially these boats being so heavy. He has options now with his boat speed up.
Now, this time, Hood stays for a while on port to windward of Tapper.
Hold there, yeah. Good angle there.
When you lee bow a boat like that, that's psychologically.
Stand by to tack.
Maybe I should look up. Are we on ley line?
2.
Looks like they are.
Now.
We need to get to the zone. Building.
Maybe
3,
not.
2, 1 angle there,
As soon
Dave.
as we're built, we're tacking
Hold there
back.
for build.
Still yellow mark, is
Hold
it?
there, yep.
Yeah,
Hold
still
there.
yellow mark.
Real wide build out.
So Cole come in here likely within zone,
Tacking.
which means that Hood cannot go inside there.
Those two tacks have lost Cole a little bit, but as you mentioned, he'll be inside at the zone. So he's spent a little bit of that lead to gain an advantage later on.
Tacking back, Dave. Tacking back.
So main difference between fleet racing and match racing is that it's a 2 boat length zone, not 3. So it looks like Cole's actually outside that 2 boat length zone, so he could keep going if he really wanted to. But I think he's going to keep it nice and safe and make sure he's very much within the rules, because you definitely don't want to be getting a penalty this late in the race.
Squeeze. Holding.
That looked really slow to me for Dave Hood.
5
Just
seconds.
not quite tacking on
hold there, not
either
high.
side there
2,
before he committed
1,
onto
go
port. Gain again to Tapper. That was a good move.
Stand by to set. 3.
Hood coming in slow to that set.
We're straight for a second here, guys. Yeah, your boat,
Down
Brennan.
3,
Coming.
2.
Settling down. Nice work out of that mark, guys.
Good set, though.
Coming.
Good job.
Settle it down.
Is that Cole's voice we hear? Who we hear talking back there? Well, it sounds like Cole is a lot calmer than the last match was, right? The last one we were on board
We go
for.
on a soaky zone pin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Communication is so key, and it is really great to get to listen in with these cameras. 1080 Media doing a great job here. You know, they helped with the Olympic events last year, and they'll probably be back in 2028. They do a great job with sailing coverage, thanks to the teams on board.
Yeah. Stand by to jibe here in 3, 2, 1. Jibing now.
Okay, we let him.
Turn.
They're going to do 2, okay?
These two teams.
Awkward speed build for him we go. Stand by.
Easy life of
These two teams are tied on
2,
points.
1. Jibing.
So this red win is
If he's on
crucial
us, we just
for both of
back out
them
Stand by to go back.
as
here.
Tapper jibes.
And 3.
So even though these boats are really big, crew work is really, really important, particularly with the distribution of weight across the boat. So you see Cole, seen especially more than maybe other teams, is really using his boat just like he would in a dinghy, try and pump the thing downwind. But remember, rules still apply, so if you are pumping too much, it could be an umpire-initiated penalty. But these guys are doing a really good job keeping within the rules and using as much body weight as they can to propel themselves down this course.
5. Stand by jibe here in 3, 2, 1. Jibing now. Jibing,
Just like any other major sport, you don't want it to put the decision in the hands of the umpire. It can go either way.
He's not on our air there.
1 angle there.
Sometimes it's unavoidable.
Up 2 here.
You know, on-the-water umpiring was pioneered here at
Yeah,
the Long
I'm trying
Beach
to get
Yacht
a
Club
gear here.
Congressional Cup. One of those pioneers is our umpire expert
Hold angle there.
here, Kirk Brown, in the booth.
You're on starboard.
Before that, they would have to disagree and then go back to the yacht club and spend hours
real
arguing
light.
about it.
We're going to take the splitter here. Think. Just go fast.
Coming down.
Didn't make for an entertaining way to finish the
Feel
race
really
day.
light, but it's light all over. Coming down. We're just going midline.
Down 5 here. Really nice pressure.
Yeah, nice. Now we're really good here.
Cole pretty happy with what he sees.
Stand by.
Hood behind and the finish line ahead.
There's just a boat lay there.
Yep. 2, 1. Jibing.
Stand by jibe here in 3, 2, 1. Here we go, jibing. 2.
Yeah. We're going to go
Looks like a bit of a
Wickwire.
quick jibe from Hood there.
Nice.
Maybe a little
Boy,
bit
look
too
at the
fast for
game
his
on the
trimmer.
last
And looks
split.
like Cole, you can see just on the left of the screen, looks like he's going to have a nice and comfortable win. This is
Good race,
critical
guys.
points for the final little bit of the round robin 2 and into the next stage.
So well done, Cole Tapper and crew. The Australian team beats the American team here in Long Beach over Dave Hood.
When?
And we've got more matches
Yeah,
in play on the
I thought we
course.
were a bit thin on the boat for a split tack.
On camera now, you see Peter Wickwire on the forward end of the screen, Chris Poole on the back end of the screen. Those two started just as the Cole Tapper match was finishing there.
Looks like Wickwire started to the right-hand side of Poole, and he's just extending and matching Poole at the moment.
All right, well, fantastically well sailed match for Cole Tapper. So let's go down and hear from the man himself.
We probably didn't quite get the start that we wanted, and you know, it was a bit of a hard fight from there, but we ended up on the right side of him and just picking up some of those righties on the beat, and we relied on the tacks of those guys at the front, and yeah, managed to make it a good race. Probably got a bit stressier than it needed to at times, but yeah, happy to come away with a win in an important race.
Always happy to come away with a win at this level of the game. Cole Tapper. Meanwhile, look at the top trouble for Nicole Breault at the top of the track there against Yanni Berntsson. Both boats had stopped in what looked to be an even match. Berntsson sailed away from her, and did she hit the mark there? I see a blue penalty on the umpire. So yes, unfortunately, that red spinnaker in the background, they hit the mark. And there's two upwind boats in the background there, as you see Berntsson leading downwind in the foreground. That's the match behind them. So Berntsson pulls ahead of Breault and gives her a penalty. Meanwhile, who's that ahead at the top mark in their match? The light blue spinnaker of Bjorn Hansen. So both Swedes leading their matches. And they're tied, right? Currently on points. See, this is where it gets really complicated when all these points matter. It changes race by race, match by match. So thank you. Hansen and Berntsson are tied, and they're both leading these matches in the green and light blue spinnakers, respectively.
So when this is done, they'll have had 18 matches. They'll race each other twice. How does the tiebreaker work in this situation, guys, if they are tied going into the end?
Oh, boy.
It's very complicated.
Maybe one day Kirk will teach us that one, but we leave that up to the race committee, I guess, right?
Yeah, it often comes down with who beat who and when as well. Sometimes they check about, it depends in the instructions really. So often we have these documents that come out before the race and it kind of decides of how they want to split it. Sometimes they go back into previous round robins. Some of them look about who beat who when as well. So it's really up to these umpires to figure it out post-racing.
Yeah, the race committee takes care of the scoring out there on the loins. Great look here. You can see downtown Long Beach in the background on camera as Yanni Berntsson leads a fleet of our beautiful colored spinnakers back towards the pier. Special thanks to all the sponsors this year. Yanni Berntsson is flying the Farmers and Merchant Spinnaker. There's actually a big boat near the pier. It's called Plan B. Has a lot of the executives from Farmers and Merchants Bank. They are local here in Long Beach, so thank you to them for the support. Back there you see American Integrated Services on the red spinnaker. That's being flown by Nicole Breault. The Cabrillo Boat Shop, although it's backwards, that is the Cabrillo Boat Shop on that light blue spinnaker for Bjorn Hansen. And I'm getting covered on the last one. I think that's the Long Beach Sailing Foundation back there.
Mm-hmm. Attili.
Attili back there, Long Beach Sailing Foundation. They actually maintain these boats all year long so that we get to race them as Long Beach Yacht Club members all season long, all year, really. We race almost every weekend here in Long Beach.
You guys are spoiled. Great breeze, great conditions, great view of sailing, great boats to sail. Great yacht club, Long Beach Yacht Club. Been hosting this event for 60 years. A lot of other events have come and gone in the Match Racing Tour. World Match Racing Tour celebrating their 25th anniversary this year. Maybe we'll get Tour Director James Pleasance at some point on the show this weekend as Berntsson heads back upwind in his match, leading. And his countryman, Bjorn Hansen, heading for the finish, I believe, leading their match as well. Well, thanks, Marilyn. That's a good update. That Peter Wickwire from Canada, is he leading Chris Poole downwind? Maybe we'll switch to that in a moment, but first we'll go to the Hansen match, the two blue spinnakers. Center screen. Hansen to your left. And that's Rocco Attili from Italy. To the right, this race heading to the finish. And that's not the finish mark, that's the leeward gate upwind of the finish. About 3.5 lengths to go for Bjorn Hansen, fresh off that unbelievable loss to Yanni Berntsson in the first round today. Comes back. You have to have short-term memory loss as a competitor at this level. Shake off the mistakes, come right back and have a win. Bjorn Hansen does over Rocco Attili. Now, upwind, there's one more match coming downwind in play with the spinnakers, and that is really exciting. First of all, Chris Poole has only lost one match, and right now it looks like he might lose a second one if Peter Wickwire, the light green spinnaker there, has anything to say about it. The Canadian is in front of the two-time reigning Congressional Cup champion, but his breeze is being affected by Poole to windward by that black spinnaker. Look how close this match is. 2/3 of the way down the run. Poole looking to roll. Wickwire luffing him now. Poole has to respond under the rules. Poole could, if there's a collision, Poole could get a penalty. Wickwire may have even flagged there, tough to tell. But the umpires certainly can see it.
So they're going to have to jibe into this finish here. So Poole's whole aim right now is to get far enough in front, then he can stick that jibe in, and then Wickwire's going to have to follow. And Wickwire's whole game is to try and prevent Poole from jibing and hopefully sail him maybe a little bit past that pin and lay.
So the finish is to the lower right corner of your screen, out of sight. What an incredible drone shot there as Wickwire rolls into a jibe first. Not quite on ley line for the finish, is he? Tough to tell. He's trying to close the door for Poole. Roll over the top of him. The finish line is far right of your screen. Anybody's guess at this point. What a race. Jibs are going up, so sorry, that is actually not the finish. They're going to go back upwind again, Zach. That's good for us.
Wickwire's trying to defend that right-hand side again, which is the side he chose at the beginning of the race, whereas Chris went to the left-hand side. So Wickwire's going to try and defend that right-hand side again at this gate.
And it's dead even going around this gate, so it's going to be really interesting to see which side's going to pay for the second upwind.
Completely even between both teams. The only advantage, Wickwire has starboard to the right, bottom of, or top of screen rather, when the two teams meet. Good job for Peter. This is his first Congressional Cup. His dream was to make the Congressional Cup. He qualified through the Ficker, and now he's up against world rank #1, two-time reigning champion of the Congressional Cup, and was ahead on that downwind run. Can he convert? Can he make it stick? That would be a big upset.
Yeah, this is a pretty scary match for Wickwire. I'd be feeling the stress versing Poole in this one, but if he can just keep it calm and not rush into anything, he should, or hopefully, will be okay.
This is also not the first time that these two have faced off as well. We've seen in past regattas, Wickwire's taken some races off Poole. So much of these two teams are very good, and Poole being #1 ranked coming into this, it's going to be all to play for. These guys are quality sailors.
As you can see on your screens, both boats are going for a massive split, with Poole hitting the top left-hand corner and Wickwire heading out to the right. I have been told with some local knowledge that heading out to the right-hand side, you can get baited into having a bit of a lift off the island there. Is that correct?
Yeah, you can just about see and you can't quite see the oil island in this image, but as you get over towards it, the wind really does wrap around the island, and you start to feel this lift. It's really exciting. But if you just go a boat length or so too far, all of a sudden you're in a big hole right behind the island. So it can be very, very helpful, but you have to be very, very careful.
Poole has tacked onto port. He looks bow down, but lots of pace and good breeze and clear air. Meanwhile, as you guys mentioned, Wickwire up under that oil island, starting to slow down a bit. And you can't see it here, but he has tacked as well, so they're on a collision course again. In a couple minutes' time, they've come together. If it's even, Poole will have to avoid his opponent because he's coming from the left on port. Wickwire looking to hold on to a marginally thin advantage from the bottom of the track. And there's a great shot of the split between the two. Tough to tell who is going to be ahead. There's the mark in the background or left side of your screen. I believe it's the yellow one, not the green one. And to my eye, is Poole a little bit closer to that yellow one?
Yeah, it looks like Chris is closer to the mark, and he looks a bit more powered up than Wickwire.
But is he not quite on ley line?
Well, it looks like Wickwire's starting to get that lift on the other side of the island, so making the match much closer. But the question will be, will Poole be able to cross in front of Wickwire, or will Wickwire catch him on starboard?
And again, the boat on the top of your screen is on starboard. That's Wickwire. Under the rules, he has rights. Poole has to avoid. Looks like they're going to the green mark. If they are, they're both on ley line for it. They're both heading for it. That's got to be the case. So that's actually going to help Wickwire.
It looks like Wickwire is going to be in zone as well. So remember, Chris cannot go in between him and the mark until they are fully onto that next leg. So it'll be interesting to see whether Chris will try and risk it for the biscuit and go on the inside, or will Wickwire defend.
So Wickwire looking good. He did gain, but it's a tack set, so he loses a little bit of speed as he rolls into the hoist. Meanwhile, Poole motoring past that mark into the hoist. Wickwire set first in the Durant Design Construction Spinnaker, just behind that ominous black kite from Chris Poole, the reigning champion, still behind the newcomer from Canada.
That was excellent boat handling from both teams. But Chris is in a very good position here, very close to Wickwire. He could pounce at any moment.
So you see both boats trying to go as low as they possibly can. So Wickwire's trying to protect his jibe option, and Poole's trying to get into a position where if Wickwire jibes, he's able to simultaneously jibe, we call it a simo, and try and get back onto his air again.
There's often so much going on when it doesn't look like anything is at all. And here comes the jibe. Wickwire bow forward ahead. Chris Poole coming out on a hot angle there with that black spinnaker, looking to blanket Wickwire's kite, slow him down, steal his breeze. And if he can do it, he's still going to have to go all the way around the outside and perhaps risk getting into downwind jail. So far from over at this point, Wickwire still has the advantage.
It looks like Wickwire is still breathing ahead of Poole's spinnaker. So it'll be interesting to see whether Poole is able to progress just a little bit further forwards, get on Wickwire's air, and then start the attack on the roll. Looks like he's going for a jibe behind. Seems like he did not have the roll happening. So it'll be really interesting to see. So Poole led the jibe. That means he's going to have the advantage coming back. The question is, will he try and stick on the air, or will he try and stick a jibe into Wickwire? So suddenly we've had a change in position.
Yeah, I like what Poole did there, because often match racers will continue to try and go all the way around the outside and hope that eventually they're going to get there. And Poole just gave it up quickly and centered the game back into the middle of the racetrack there. And it's working. Is Wickwire in trouble? Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it looks like there's a bit of overlap here. So Wickwire's trying to go for a major luff, but he's allowed Chris Poole to get round the outside and stick the jibe in. This is major. Looks like they're slightly still above the start line lay, or finish line lay, but I mean, this is major. Suddenly Poole's out in front and in clean air. So it'd be interesting to see which side of this is going to work towards the bottom.
Wow. And this is what we tend to see from the top match racers in the world. They wait for their moment to pounce, and often a millisecond of opportunity comes up. Poole from behind, now ahead.
Yeah, I agree. That was definitely a testament to Poole's boat handling. His team did an excellent job in that jibe, and Wickwire, I think, was just a few seconds behind and unable to do a clean maneuver there.
Just like Poole's going a little bit low, trying to soak towards this line, because of course if he jives, he will be on port with Wickwire and starboard, and could see a different situation start to occur. But I think Chris might be able to soak for this line, maybe a very last-minute jibe. But the question is what the bias is on this line and who can get there first.
So there is the signal boat in the background, the white power boat in your screen there, Wickwire heading for it. Somewhere right of screen is the pin buoy. And Chris Poole driving for it now. He's just going to cross the line ahead of Wickwire. What an incredible race. Both boats crossed the finish line, overlapped. But Chris Poole pulls it off. Impressive.
So Chris Poole repeats something we saw yesterday. Perfect in the second round robin through 5 matches.
You know, that was still a fantastic match for Wickwire. No which way about it. I know he's probably disappointed with the loss, but he just stuck it to Chris Poole all the way around the track. Almost pulled off a massive upset there, and you should be proud of sailing like that against world rank #1, Peter Wickwire. But there's the man, Chris Poole. Still dominant so far in this regatta. Now, these teams want to make the top 4. But then after that, we start basically over a new regatta from 10 boats down to 4. And all of this racing, all this effort, 90 races in total over the past 3 days are completely erased, and we start again with the top 4. First to win 3, I believe. 3 points, 3 wins. So probably just a few minutes to go here before Randy Smith and crew on the race committee boat roll into the start of the next flight. And we're going to take a quick break and take a quick look at an overview of the Congressional Cup. Here we go.
Long Beach Yacht Club is proud to present the Congressional Cup. We have been on the world stage for over 60 years. Congressional Cup is the longest continuous running match race regatta in the world.
To be here as a competitor and flying the Canadian flag is a huge honor. And we have 8 of the top 10 skippers in the world here involved in the event. But when you dream, you have to dream really big, and I know it's no easy task to win the Congressional Cup.
What makes it special is I think the venue is great outside the Belmont Pier.
It is one of the most impressive viewing venues for any match race around the world.
You can hear people shouting at you from the pier. You get really up close into the action, and the atmosphere is so good. That's why it's fun to pre-start here and it's fun to race here.
We welcome the world to come and join us, not only at the pier, but we also live stream.
What we're really seeing is a lot of new match racing talent, and that's exciting. So we have a full range of the veteran skippers and the young skippers.
Morning, Randy Smith, Principal Race Officer for the 2025 Congressional Cup. The job normally starts, several months before the event, and I am in charge of a team of about a dozen people on the water, 3 or 4 signal boat, a couple mark set boats, bosun. What's the most challenging thing? I would say just being prepared every day. I mean, I'm very good at preparation, but there's so many things in a sailing event that you can't control: the weather, boat breakdowns, that sort of thing. So we do run into curveballs every day, every event. So just having a contingency plan ready to go for whatever curveball we get hit with. I still do a lot of sailing and actually navigating the boat on Transpac this year. So I'm like a weather freak, I guess I would call myself. I'm looking at the weather all the time. We're fortunate in Long Beach, we have very predictable weather normally, so applying the daily weather to the racing schedule is usually pretty easy. So I'm always sharing with the competitors what I'm looking at on the weather, what apps I'm using. Sailing in my 15th Transpac this year, and 2019 I was a crew member aboard the Santa Cruz 70 OEX, and second night out we had a rudder failure and the boat sank in the middle of the night, about 25 knots of breeze. Get into life rafts and sit out there for a while, and Hiwek ended up coming up, picking us up and rescuing us. So yeah, that's the clear-cut winner in my sailing career. We had a great group of 10 teams here this year, so I'm wishing all the teams good luck, and we'll see you out on the water.
All right, guys, I'm back here live on the pier with a very special guest, George Lanza. George, how are you doing out here?
Doing great. Great moment. Doing great.
So George is the owner of Plethora of Businesses. They are a brand new Spinnaker sponsor this year, but he's been a long-time member of Long Beach Yacht Club. George, how long have you been with the club for?
Over 30 years.
30 years. And how many Congressional Cups have you come to?
Many. Literally uncountable. Probably 10, 15, 20.
And he's here with us on the pier today. We're lucky to see him for a short bit, but you're actually driving one of the press boats. Is that correct?
Yes, every day I'm taking the press out, and I'm really happy to take the press to capture the best moments of the race.
And if you can tell me really quickly, for people that don't know the business, tell us about Plethora and what you guys do.
Well, we are a mergers and acquisitions firm. We represent buyers or sellers, and we do appraisals for many things, IRS, or just to sell the business. We're just an M&A firm.
Okay, and you guys are local here in Long Beach, correct?
We are local in Long Beach, but we are nationwide. We have branches in several other states, so we are nationwide.
And this is your first time, absolutely as a Spinnaker sponsor, first time as a Congressional Cup sponsor?
The first time. I always wonder what it was like one day I asked and said, what's it take to be a Spinnaker sponsor? Then they told me, and here we are.
And here you are, Juan. It is beautiful, that big yellow Spinnaker. George, tell me, your better half is standing behind us, hiding in the corner, but she's also very influential and helpful here at Long Beach Yacht Club. Let us know what she planned earlier in the year. I got to be a special part of it. And those of you that were lucky enough to be there, it was an incredible party. Let us know what she and the crew did.
She did the New Year's party. She did a great party. I think it was one of the records. She have a lot of people coming in from all over. I think it was reinstated one more time, a high bar for the New Year's Day party.
Absolutely. It was an absolute blast if you missed it. George, I've only got you for another minute or so before we get rolling, but let us know, is there a favorite team you're rooting for out here this weekend?
Well, I am proud to be here, and if I have to root for a team, it will be from Dave Hood, just because it's our local guy, friend, and neighbor, and I'm rooting for him.
And you know what? If you stand up, you can see him. Give him a shout right now. He's going to hear you through the speakers.
David, keep on going, and remember, you have our Spinnaker there, so it should be a little bit bigger than all the other ones, so you should win.
All right, so Dave Hood with the Plethora of Businesses cheater Spinnaker, apparently. Thank you, George, so much. We appreciate you guys supporting the Congressional Cup, and welcome to the Cup.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you.
All right, we'll be right back. Racing should be kicking off any moment now. As we get close back into racing here, I want to do a quick rundown of our sponsors. Farmers and Merchants Bank, Club 100, plethora of businesses. You just met George. American Integrated Services, Cabrillo Boat Shop, Morgan Stanley and the Shadden Group, Durant Design and Construction, Bacardi, Port of Long Beach, the Long Beach Visitors Bureau, Visit Long Beach. The Grand has that amazing food upstairs. Block Wellness and Sports Medicine. Karen Block has been taking care of the sailors all week long. Long Beach Sailing Foundation, the World Match Racing Tour, Belmont Athletic Club, Dry Creek Vineyards, and GK Skaggs.
All right. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, George. Thank you, Long Beach. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in and watching. We're live again here at the Congressional Cup. Flight 15. 4 more flights to go in this second round robin. We're looking at Cole Tapper and Bjorn Hansen in the pre-start, coming up on a 3-minute mark. Tapper behind, Hansen ahead. And the dial-up is over. Here's the information. Tapper looking comfortable at this point in the scores for a spot in the top 4. Hansen with an outside shot, tied with 2 others. He needs this win over Cole Tapper.
Yeah, with incredibly high points towards this final bit of this last round robin. Points are really, really close going through. But the important thing is not to let the results get you ahead. It's still one race at a time, and you can't afford any mistakes in this little last bit.
Hansen uses the pier exclusion zone.
So we saw
Tapper goes around the outside.
In the dial-up just before, Hansen came in with a lot of speed and seems to roll straight round Tapper. So we still have quite a lot of time left, more than usual, in this kind of little dance towards the start line. Looks like a really good lineup from Tapper here. This could be on for a penalty. We'll see what happens.
Hansen obviously has to avoid, and he does.
So Cole raises the Yankee flag, asking the umpires, hey, did they infringe me here, or was it all good?
It's like Hansen is trying to set up for a position behind Tapper. He's going to have it there. Tapper a little bit early for the line. What will he do? Stay? Yep. Meanwhile, Hansen's just going to use up some distance to the right, slowly tack around. Let the clock wind down a little bit before Hansen will likely go in for a dig, push Tapper towards the line.
Yeah, so the trick here is when you start to build a little bit of gauge, you can start to slowly, especially with these big boats, get a lot of speed going and hopefully go for that hook on the inside. Looks like Tapper sees straight through that move and gets his boat moving as well. We've got 1 minute and 13 seconds left on the clock, so still got quite a bit of time to kill, but not a heap. So it'll be interesting to see. Hansen's coming in very fast here. Tapper's still a little bit slow, so will he have enough speed to break through that dirty air and try and get an overlap on Tapper?
There's the 1 minute mark. It's often deceiving. The lead boat looks slow, but they can use their sails to blanket or slow down the trailing boat. Hansen, and right now, no overlap, but it is very close. Both boats heading down away from the line there with 45 seconds. Tapper looking back, keeping clear from Hansen, who is pushing still.
So only 35 seconds left on this clock. So not a whole lot of time to kill, but maybe just a little bit. So you see Tapper probably doing one of his last dial downs. It looks like Hansen's still just sticking there, trying to push him all the way, maybe trying to stop him from tacking off this line. We come to the last seconds. Looks like they'll be racing towards this pin to make sure that Tapper's going to be clear on this pin mark. Seems like they're dialing up for the start.
Yeah, Hansen really pushed Tapper down towards the end of the line there at the pin before tacking away. Tapper responds and tacks as well to windward. Here's the gun. And immediately Hansen into the attack. On starboard, Tapper gets across there. What do you make of that move?
Really interesting. See, Hansen was turning the entire time, so Tapper doesn't have to move until they've lined him up. So it'll be really interesting to see what the umpires think of this.
Green flag, no penalty. I agree with that. Tapper got across. What would Berntsson's objective have been there? If it's likely not to get a penalty on his opponent, did he just want to shift to the left-hand side? That was
so it's interesting
unpredictable
thought there. So it looked like Hansen was turning the whole time. So every time you're altering, it seems like you have to give a little bit more to the other boat to get out the way. So what's really important is when you try and go for a penalty, you want to line up and keep your helm dead straight. When it's dead straight, that's when the other boats really need to do everything they can. It's all on the opponent.
I'm just wondering, was that strategic? Did he just do that in order to get to the left of his opponent? And if so, why?
Gonna have to ask him after the race.
Maybe. Let's see if he gets anything from the left as he tacks now towards Tapper. We'll just keep an eye on this cross, hopefully. Not sure if he's going to be ahead. Tapper's going to come in from the right-hand side of screen on starboard. Under the rules, he'll have rights, and he is ahead, and he tacks. You can't see him, but he's tacking just in front of Hansen. So there it is. Gain to Tapper.
Yeah, so it looks like Cole's definitely trying to protect that right-hand side of the course. Seems like it's been a bit of a feature for most races. Apart from the race with Poole and Wickwire, seems like that hard left seems to work. So the majority right-hand side, but as we've seen in the last couple of races, or last race, in fact, there could be something coming out from this left.
Well, we'll see. That's what Hansen's hoping for. Remember, Hansen really needs this win, more than Tapper does, as he tacks to stay with the Aussies. In the background there, you can see start number 2 here in this 15th flight between Nicole Breault and Rocco Attili. There's the dial-up. Attili in the foreground there on the right. And Breault from San Francisco on the left. Both boats starting to reverse a little bit.
Yeah, so this middle zone here between going forwards and backwards is something that's actually incredibly risky. So quite often as the boat that is to windward, so Attili in the picture here. So as soon as you start to lose flow, you want to get out of there as soon as you can, because when you go into reverse, suddenly you become the windward boat, and it's on you to get out of there. So to avoid that compromising position, quite often we see them fall out and go back into the playground. Although Nicole has come back out on starboard, which could be an interesting move. The question is, will she get a jibe in front of Rocco Attili, or will he be able to stop their jibe and maybe get a penalty on them?
Well, she's turned around, heading downwind, trying to go for a downwind cross. That's the good news. She went around the pin to do it. She's used up extra distance, and of course now is on port. We'll have to avoid, and here's the collision course from Rocco.
She's using a lot of helm, so I think she's wiping a little bit too much speed on. I think she would have had that cross had she not used so much helm there. But I mean, time will tell. Will Rocco be able to reel in Nicole and stop her from jibing?
Oh, her crew's just forcing the jib to windward, and it's not going to work. Oh, maybe it does work. Does she get across?
I think that's cross. I mean, it's incredibly close. Look at that. Cool, calm, and collected from Nicole. Got the jibe in. Nice work.
Got us fooled. That was great. Well done, Nicole. You can hear the crowd on the Belmont Pier here enjoying that move as well. Maybe she was just building pace on a really high angle before burning some of that speed down. It certainly worked. She got across Rocco Attili just in time. Coming up on a minute left to play.
All about the suspense, isn't it? TV sport.
Kept us guessing. Nicole's been getting better and better with every match. As she turns around now on to starboard against Attili, who will respond as well, avoiding off the Belmont Pier here. Less than a minute to go to the start. Attili leading. Umpire is into position here if it gets close and feisty.
Yeah, it looks like they're below the starboard or the boat end lay. So Nicole seems safe from a lockout from the boat. So it's interesting to see, will she go for a dive down? We haven't got a lot of time left on the clock, about 32 seconds left.
Real quick upwind, what do you like?
Oh, it's incredibly close. So if we saw the last match, seems both boats came out quite even. Looks like a little bit more wind on the right.
Okay.
But, I mean, incredibly close. But it seems like we had a right shift off the start line, so I wouldn't be surprised if Nicole tries to protect that gap into windward and maybe tries to hold them off.
Well, she's got it now. If she wants it. 10 seconds to go to the start. Attili will be to leeward. And Nicole just putting her bow down, closing gauge, building a lot of pace before the final windup. Here we go to the start. Now can she live to windward of Attili? I like what she's done. It's a big speed build there. She still is well to windward and wound up nicely on Attili to leeward.
Yeah, both boats done really well here. Looks like Nicole's managed to increase the gauge a little bit just off this line. So the question is, on boat speed, who can stay in that spot for the longest?
Tell me, does her main look a little bit over-trimmed compared to Attili?
Yeah, she does. So it looks like that top bands is a little bit flicked into windward, which is something that's not particularly fast, whereas Rocco's rocking a bit of a looser main sheet setup.
And looking at this shot here, you can see Attili starting to gain as a result. She looks like she's just stalling a little bit compared to the Italian team, and now the Italians going bow forward.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised if that main, just purely a little bit too much main sheet on, is causing her speed deficit.
Well, I know she sails J22s in San Francisco, and you do want to have the mains a bit over trimmed in those boats, but not these big rumblers. Now,
it seems like this gauge is decreasing quite a bit, so I wonder if Nicole's going to stay there or she'll look to tack out.
all right, well, she's doing a good job to stay in that position now. We're going to leave that position, back down to the pre-start. This is Berntsson entering from the right. Peter Wickwire to his left from Canada. Berntsson is also one of the 3 teams in that tie for 4th place between Hansen and Hood and himself, so he needs this win as well. On paper, you might say, well, he could beat Wickwire, but both of these teams have had a bit of an up-and-down Congressional Cup so far, and we saw Wickwire almost topple Poole in the last match, so it's anybody's guess in these light and fickle breezes here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, rankings tell you what's happened in the past, but these matches tell you what's happening right now. So all these skippers here are incredibly talented, and the level between them is really not that much. So it's all about the really small things. Who has control and who managed to get to just that little gains here and there, really like build up.
Yeah, I will say this has been one of the most evenly matched, toughest Congressional Cups among the entire field. I don't think any race has been a total washout. They've all been within a couple lengths of each other all the way around the track for the past 3 days.
For sure, and I mean, this is one of the venues where we don't have a particular side that is just crazy biased. We don't have certain things on the race course. You look at other very shifty venues and we see boats just lead by country miles, whereas this venue, there's passing lanes, and the wind's quite stable, so it means for some really cool match racing. So we're going to reverse here. So the question will be on what jibe are they on? Remember, it's not based on where the boom is. It's based on where the wind is relative. So you see the umpires just below the screen checking where the wind is coming from. So right now, it looks like both boats are on starboard, which means that Wickwire has a right of way and Berntsson has to keep clear.
I love it when they maneuver these boats in reverse. They make it look easy, and it's not. As they back down well below the starting line, relatively equal speeds. Wickwire, they're starting to converge just a little bit together, as you say. Berntsson knows he'll have to avoid. And actually, the bowmen are steering the boat as much as the rudder, aren't they, with those jibs?
Yeah, for sure. It's a coordination between the two. So when we're going slow, the bowman's doing all the heavy lifting. You have very little flow of the water along your foils, which means that you have very little control. So it's up to your sail trimmers, and in this case, the jib or the bowman, to be moving that jib to try and push the boat one way or the other. You can see James on Wickwire's boat try and push that bow out. So Wickwire feels like he's falling out onto starboard, and James is trying to stop that from happening. Looks like he's committed to the fallout.
And he is, and with Berntsson now falling away onto starboard as well behind, Wickwire could be in a little bit of trouble there as he looks to accelerate away. A little loose on the headsail trim there comparatively.
Yeah, we've only got 55 seconds left on the clock. Berntsson's got Wickwire in a really compromised position. So his aim would be to stop him from tacking over and going towards the start line. Remember, we don't have to start at go. So there could be a chance where Berntsson may try and stall Wickwire out and make him follow in after the gun.
36 seconds to go. Both teams well outside of the pin. Each of them will have to tack. And as you say, Berntsson pinning Wickwire from doing so at this point.
And if you pan to the top of your screen as well, there's an incredibly tight scenario going to the gate here. A quick jibe. I mean, just incredibly close. Both matches, intense situations happening.
That's Hansen jibing in front of Tapper, who was ahead in the entire downwind run. Now Hansen's moved to the inside. He's in a must-win in that three-way tie. And he's just past Tapper, but he gets a red flag penalty. We saw him do that 2 matches ago. Hansen got a red flag penalty, and he's going to have to spin one of at least 2 and let Tapper back out in front. Right, Kirk Brown?
Yeah, he gained a controlling position with that fast jibe. Umpire is penalized with a red flag.
All right, thank you, Kirk. Meanwhile, you can see in our shot that the gun has gone. The start is underway. Berntsson is ahead of Wickwire, but Wickwire is well within range, and this race is going to be close despite all that pre-start effort by Berntsson.
Yes, I wouldn't be surprised if Berntsson starts to put the bow down and try and roll over Wickwire. Especially in these light conditions, it's definitely lighting off the last couple matches. So if Berntsson can spill his dirty airs, the wind already used by his sails, onto Wickwire, it's going to really put a bad spot for Wickwire to be in. And I wouldn't be surprised if he throws attacking at some point.
Berntsson gaining at the moment. And behind them, you can see the next match, our feature match, match number 4 in this flight, between Chris Poole and Ian Garreta, America and France. 7-time Congressional Cup sailor Chris Poole, 2-time winner, and first-time Ian Garreta. Already a flag from the back of Chris Poole's boat, the tactician Jochen Aschenbrenner. He's been racing with Poole for years. And the umpires, green flag, no penalty. On board with Chris Poole. You see his hand?
This is a classic Chris Poole move. You see him all the time, hand behind the back, trying to keep his composure through the whole thing. But the question is, what's going inside his head?
Well, whatever it is, it's working, because he does that hand behind the back thing. Somehow, it's a calming move, a concentration type of move.
Cut, Harry. Cut.
Either that or he just looks very regal doing it. But it works. Obviously works.
Well, both hands back on the steering wheel. Easy stress.
It's better than both hands behind his back.
Oh, 100%.
Harry.
So it looks like Chris is slowly falling out of here, but he's making sure that Garreta cannot follow him. So I reckon Chris Poole's on port right now. Garreta's on starboard. So he's on port to get out of the way, but all he's doing is trying to stop Garreta. So Poole has a good exit option right now, but it's just trying to kind of like a cat and mouse, playing with your prey a little bit.
Let's listen in. Boats getting closer together. On board with Poole. He's calling starboard. If they hit, could be trouble for Poole. Poole's man.
2, 1, and press.
Chris Poole just laughing at how close that was. That is wonderful. And it's a green flag, no penalty.
Yes, that was incredibly close there. I mean, sometimes competitors, we know it's going to be close, but sometimes we don't realize it's going to be that close.
That was great.
Poole and Garreta were really kind of hard in mouth situation there of if they were going to hit or not.
Poole just laughing through this pre-start.
Possible hoist here?
Possible hoist in the spinnaker.
Looks like Garreta's very slow here, and it took him a while to start to get out of the way. He had his jib on quite a lot, so that I wonder if the umpires think that he was doing enough to get out of the way. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a flag here and the umpire make a decision. Green flag here, all good. But Garreta's looking incredibly slow here, so I wouldn't be surprised if Poole gets his boat back up to speed and starts another attack. We've only got 1 minute and 13 seconds left on the clock, so there's not a lot of time to kill here.
Poole does spin back onto starboard.
Starboard!
Trying to tee up his opponent.
Don't bail out yet. Gotta stay here for at least 30 seconds.
Yes, it looks like both boats were avoiding each other at all times, so likely going to be a green flag, but we'll have to see what the umpires say about it.
Less than a minute to go, both boats over the line as Poole continues to keep Garreta at bay and in trouble. At some point, they've got to go back to the line. They're talking about hoisting the spinnaker in order to do it. Mathieu Richard, former Congressional Cup winner, is the tactician in the back there talking to Garreta.
Looks like time to go back. Gone down the inside, so he's gone for the first move, but it's only 23 seconds left of the clock, so it's going to be a race down to the line. Garreta is hoisting his spinnaker in the pre-start. Poole goes for the matching move here. Both boats in with the spinnaker up with 13 seconds left of the clock. The question is, who can have a better routing and who can get to the line first?
Well, and Poole sailed extra distance there and set up to leeward underneath Garreta. I wonder if, as a leeward boat, he can get a piece of him, luff him up. Both boats over early there. Chris is going to get down below the line first. Time to drop the kite. And here it comes. Now, can he dip below the line and then luff Garreta up? Garreta's going to have to avoid. And he does.
Winding up.
Nice move, Chris Poole. And now Garreta will dip down below the line, collecting his spinnaker, and we're off in an unusual pre-start. Split tacks well after the gun, with Poole to the right and Garreta to the left.
Yeah, incredible work from both teams there, getting the kites up in such a short period of time and getting a clean drop from both boats. I mean, look how even the start is, taking how far away they were.
That's a lot of work.
Looks like Chris Tackin's kind of defending that right-hand side.
You almost thought Garreta got the jump on Poole there with the spinnaker and might have been able to roll him towards the line. But Poole hung in there.
Situation.
Garreta immediately into attack onto port, which looks disadvantaged at this point. That's going to allow Poole to attack in front of him, take the lead.
I wouldn't be surprised if Poole throws a slam tack on here and forces Garreta out of there, particularly as the winds lightened off throughout the day. Being in that dirty air scenario is going to get worse and worse and worse as his wind kind of lightens off. It's also a reminder, if they do end up hitting that gate mark, it does not matter because it is not part of that lap. It is A-OK to hit that mark.
Il y a de la presse devant, je pense, Mathieu.
Poole attacking back, right of screen, to stay with Garreta. Now Garreta hoping for anything from that left-hand side, Marilyn Cassidy. Is there any chance that we could see breeze from the left? We know in Long Beach, as the sea breeze builds, you see the right favor, but right now it's very cloudy and light, no sea breeze. Not a real one.
No sea breeze yet, but just looking at the boats around the course, I do see a pretty big right phase taking place right now, and the race committee is even signaling that by sending some of the following matches out to the green mark, which is further to the right of their center line.
Okay. Thank you, Marilyn. Local knowledge expert. More gains to Poole with every tack.
Yeah, it looks like that right-hand side is becoming more and more favored. If we look up the course, it looks like a little bit more wind on that right-hand side. So I wouldn't be surprised if Poole continues to protect that right-hand side.
And he does. Now, in the background there, that yellow spinnaker crossing the finish line. You can see top of screen on the left. That is Cole Tapper over Bjorn Hansen. Remember, Hansen, one of the three teams in a three-way tie for fourth place, the all-important fourth spot. And Tapper is going to steal a point from Hansen. That leaves Berntsson and Hood, the other two, looking for a win. We'll keep you updated.
So back in with Poole and Garreta. It seems like Poole again is protecting that right-hand side. It seems to be the general favor for this course. We see Garreta setting up for attack here.
Great footage on board.
So will Poole slam tack Garreta again?
Might as well remain consistent. Worked for him the last three tacks. Why not?
Yeah, particularly as they get up this course, so the majority of the way up. So I don't think there's that much left on port tack, starboard tack to go. So it'll be interesting. Maybe there'll be possibly one more, and could be a net in the coffin.
Well,
at least for this lap.
For that lap, maybe. Lots more sailing to go. And Garreta's not going to give up. Neither is Mathieu Richard, keeping his eye on the breeze upwind, looking for any opportunity to get back in the match with the world ranked #1 Chris Poole in front of them. You can hear the audio from the French boat. They've tacked again onto port. And Poole coming from the right on starboard. Still looking pretty strong.
Non, il va virer devant.
Maybe a small gain to Garreta, not much. Not enough anyway to make any difference. And is this on ley line for the top mark?
I believe so.
I think.
What's interesting to see is how much communication is happening on Garreta's team. You see a lot of chat from his team giving him all the information he needs. Hey, this is what percentage sail trim I am on. What's coming down the course. It's really important that as the driver, you're driving the boat. You can't be looking at what else is happening. So it's really important that the crew feeds him lots of information coming through.
I got him. Yeah.
Réouvre un peu la gotte.
Just another quick update. I believe Nicole Breault has won her next match. Well done.
Copy.
And that one was over Rocco Attili. Berntsson is leading his match over Wickwire. Berntsson's one of those three that are tied. And Hood and Monnin have only just started. Back on board with Chris Poole, leading his match over Rocco Attili. I'm sorry, not Rocco Attili, right?
Garreta.
Thank you. I knew it was an Italian name on a French team. Ian Garreta. Ooh, a little slow on the orange spinnaker set, and there it goes. Now we've only got one more full flight today. This is going to be a short day because this afternoon at the Long Beach Yacht Club we have the Junior Congressional Cup. 10 junior sailors from Long Beach Yacht Club have been paired with the 10 pro sailors here at the Congressional Cup. And the junior sailors drive the FJ dinghy and the pro sailors crew for them right in front of all the members. It's hysterical. Somebody usually ends up swimming. And then rules are used loosely. And at some point, a victor is awarded the Junior Congressional Cup. But they're paired with them all week, so they're kind of part of the team, you know, the junior sailor. It's pretty cool. And then there's a big party celebrating the 60th anniversary of the Congressional Cup back at the Yacht Club tonight. You're all welcome to join. Sponsored by F&M Bank, the party tonight. And non-members are welcome to come to the club too, but members have to pay. Maybe that's a benefit. You have to know. I don't know how that's going to work at the party, but just tell them you're with the Congressional Cup and you know Zach West. Game's getting a bit closer here, Zach.
Yeah, it's interesting. Seems like Garreta is going for the roll into this gate mark. I mean, they're quite close to lay, so they're staying quite hot at the moment. So I wonder when they soak down, will they be on lay or will they have to throw another jibe in? But there is quite a bit of separation between Poole and Garreta. So I don't think they'll catch up by this bottom mark, but they're going to try and get as close as possible.
Building one here, Mel. Coming up one. There you go. There's the power.
On board with Poole.
Copy. Now we're happy to take the gap. Copy.
Jochen Aschenbrenner, the tactician, trims the main downwind. Where does that put the main trimmer? Maybe on the after guy or something?
Yeah, usually he's on the brace trying to get that through, so everyone kind of moves forwards a position almost.
Brace, as you would say it.
Or four guy.
Potato, potato.
Lost in translation.
Jibe classique, hein. Allez, 3, 2.
So it looks like both boats are set up for a port rounding. So left-hand turn going around this bottom mark. We see Poole going for his jib up nice and early. Doesn't need to stress anything. He's still got quite a bit of a lead. Happy to spend it just so he's nice and safe.
Left-hand turn around the right-hand mark as we look upwind allows them to favor the right. All things being equal, being to the right of your opponent gives you starboard advantage when it's close. So Poole's going to protect that. Plus, as Marilyn Cassidy, who is never wrong, tells us that there's some breeze off to the right-hand side. Two reasons to go that direction. That's why both teams, normally the trailing boat would want to split, but in this case, following behind is the right call.
Yeah, it was interesting. Dean Garreta kept the spinnaker up really, really late and did what we call a rush drop, or it could be even a scramble depending on where you're from. Although he's put his crew into quite a bit of a stressful scenario, trying to go from a quick kite drop into an immediate tack. You can see maybe a bit of a slow of a jib snap there.
Yep. Good move to get tack first on Chris Poole there, but put his crew under pressure. These are the best crews in the game. Not easy to sail these Catalina 37s. They're big. Big boats.
Don't want to be I feel like I'm pinching, Mel, but talk to me. You happy, Mal, here?
I love how the skipper always asks the question. It's really a disguise. What he's really saying is, I'd like to press. How do you feel? Mal Parker, that main trimmer, may or may not have picked up on. It's just a subtle way of saying, I'd like more speed out of the boat, right?
Yeah, so the communication between the trimmers and the skipper are so important. I mean, sometimes, particularly if you're sitting on the high side of these boats, you can't really see the telltales. So it's up to the people further in front of you to kind of feed you the information, be like, hey, we're going a little bit high here.
Copy. Yeah.
Split. And they use that downwind spinnaker as a bit of a pick in order to get some more of a split.
Copy this angle, Mel.
That's
Copy, thank you.
Wickwire trailing Berntsson, I believe, in their match downwind. Berntsson needs this win, and it looks like he might get it. Now, after racing today and before, no, actually after the Junior Con Cup as well, we'll have a press conference with all 10 teams.
Confirm.
Public is welcome to join us there to hear from all the sailors about how the day went, and we will hear from the Junior Congressional Cup winner, whoever that may be, before the 60th anniversary F&M Bank sponsored party. Just one big party. It's a marathon of an event, isn't it?
For sure, marathon of 2 events, really, because we just had the
quicker,
Figure Cup coming into the Congressional Cup.
All the hikes.
Okay, we're going to leave Chris Poole for just a second. Give you an update. There's Yanni Berntsson. Remember, he's one of the 3 teams tied for 4th, and he needs this point, and he's getting it over Wickwire there from behind. Berntsson just one more jibe to go to the finish. I'm surprised he didn't jibe yet, to be quite honest with you. That's making it look a little nervous, folks, as Wickwire's powering towards the line, just out of screen. There we go. Berntson's still pretty shallow on the angle there. Am I seeing this correctly?
This looks really close. I mean, what? Whoa. Wickwire might have come in with
yellow. Oh my God.
Whoa,
I mean,
that was incredibly close.
You couldn't see it in the camera frame, but I have never seen a boat possibly give up a race in the last length and a half by just not steering back down to the line. Anyway, nice.
Yeah, just listening.
It's weird, wasn't it? Nice job, Berntsson.
Yeah, I mean, the camera angle didn't quite show it there, but that was a real dive for the line for both teams there. Really, really interesting.
Just asking the question. I'm not looking back.
Now back on board with Poole ahead.
Yeah. Copy.
Tell you what, if
Copy,
Berntsson had
VMG
lost
set.
that match, that would make the press conference because he was well ahead. But anyway.
Yeah, as it is, I'm sure we'll talk about it, but maybe a little less drama, huh?
So that puts Berntsson in that 3-way tie, Maryland. He's got a point, and Hansen lost to Tapper, so Hansen didn't get a point. That means the Monnin Hood match. Hood is the other match in play they were looking at it there, that needs another point, that is in this tie, and Hood's behind. So really, Berntsson is earning himself the 4th spot. And in the background, top of screen, there's a big tussle at the bottom of the track between, that is Hood, actually. I'm wrong. Between Hood and...
Yeah, Hood and Monnin just at the leeward gates here, and very nearly even split. Hood had been just maybe a pinch ahead before a final luff right before the gates. This one is neck and neck.
Okay, so that was just them. You saw him in the overhead shot. Back on board with Garreta, trailing Poole downwind. This to the finish. Not a great spinnaker set there by the trailing boat. Unforced error. Somebody stepping on the sheet or something. Well, Chris Poole's pretty far ahead, and we're heading downwind to the finish. We got a few more minutes.
It's a great time
Ryan?
to talk about our spinnaker sponsors here. You see in this match, as we go to Chris Poole on board, they are flying both of the Long Beach, I'd say city-type sponsors. We have the Port of Long Beach and the Chris Poole spinnaker, and Visit Long Beach, the Long Beach Visitor Center, Visitors Bureau, excuse me. We really get a lot of support out of the city as this event has grown over the course of 60 years. And there's 2 really big events here in Long Beach. First one will be the Long Beach Grand Prix, which took place a couple weeks ago. But then the Congressional Cup are the 2 big racing events here in the city, and the city is very proud to sponsor and support both events. We thank the Port and we thank Visit Long Beach.
Coming. Yep, coming. Let me know when they're getting close to the bottom. Copy.
Aiming at left gate.
No, let's do another drive.
No, does he have another one in him?
What's that?
Does Harry have another one in him? Yeah. Yeah, a little funky. Down or up? It's kind of wishy-washy. Okay. How's angle?
Chris Poole and his tactician Jakob Aschenbrenner there, making it look easy. He's trying for a three-peat. Only one other sailor in the history of the event, I believe, has ever done 3 in a row wins.
Really soft.
And that's Taylor Canfield, who here is coaching on the water with the Dave Hood
I think it's been all day.
team.
And I also would like to say, too, Chris Poole is one of the most humble, nicest guys on the water. He's at the club every night, friends with all the yacht club members, such a nice guy, encouraging to everyone's kids. You know, he's a really fun guy to have here at this event year after year.
How's this ready to turn?
Press conference yesterday, he credited a lot of the other teams behind him. Quite the gentleman as he jibes one last time. Not the gentleman against his opponents, though, when on the race course. Afterwards, maybe. Dominant in this match over Garreta. As they head for the line. A little bit of an early jibe there, so they're going to have to soak. Make that 2 jibes. Why not? You're winning. Nice job, Chris Poole and crew. Another victory, another race won. And I'm pretty sure he's mathematically through to the top 4 by now in the semifinals. And then we've got Cole Tapper
rolling down
and Eric Monnin looking semi-comfortable for 2nd and 3rd, and that's going to leave that fight for the 4th spot between Berntsson, Hansen, and Hood. Hansen just lost a match. Berntsson just won a match, and it really comes down to Hood. And how's he doing at the top of the track, Marilyn? Dave Hood?
It looks like Hood is leading around the weather mark in his match right now, but there's less than 2 boat lengths between him and his competitor, Eric Monnin.
All right. Meanwhile, let's go on board with Chris Poole.
Yeah, we had really good comms in the pre-start. Jakob and I were pretty in sync with what the plan that he wanted, and the guys did a really good job executing well. And then we did a nice job getting back to the line first with speed, and had a nice turn up. And then from there, it was a close match with Ian. But we did a really good job of just bouncing him out to that left side. And then on the final approach to the top mark, Jakob positioned us really nicely on top of Ian, and there wasn't much he could do, and gassed him out the back by about 3 extra lengths. And then the rest of the race was pretty straightforward from there.
Hello!
All right, well, there we go from our victor, Chris Poole. Now here's Garreta having a chat with the umpires.
I mean, when? Okay.
So after each match, the competitors can discuss with the umpires whether they thought the call, which way the umpire calls went, and what the umpires were thinking.
And that's something that Randy's been touting, is he likes to be very transparent. So he will invite that. They will discuss things together. If you heard him saying they videotaped the match, and they will go back and watch tapes with the competitors if they ask, and they're very open about sharing what they see, what they might have missed and or gotten right. Is that right, Kirk? He's nodding his head.
Okay, so that's 4 matches complete. And remember, Dave Hood was also one of those tied for a 4th spot. Right now, he's the yellow spinnaker leading the purple grand spinnaker, Attili.
I think,
Tucker, heads for the finish.
You're going to go get some of that food from the Grand when we're done with this one?
Absolutely.
That is great food every year. So fun.
So right now, Hood looks good, and that means he and Berntsson are still tied for that 4th spot, Marilyn.
That's right, and Berntsson would still be winning the tiebreaker since Berntsson had beat Hood when they last raced.
Well, we've got 3 more flights to
there's
go.
lots more racing left out here, exactly.
Berntson's next match today and our final flight is going to be up against Poole, and Hood's next match today is up against Nicole Breault. So on paper, you would think Hood would have the easier match. And after that, would he be ahead? But anything can happen here in the Congressional Cup.
And, I think I should note, this is not going to be the end of the racing today, because tonight is our Junior Congressional Cup back at the Yacht Club. I'm going to speak with someone that's racing that at some point years and years ago. Dusty Durant, his dad and team are a sponsor. And when this flight's done, we'll get Dusty in and talk about his experience sailing here, what Durant Construction and Design does as a business. And just a full day, a full weekend of racing here for the Congressional Cup. For the first time ever, we're going to live stream the Junior Congressional Cup tonight. Full production crew. So that'll be a lot of fun. Extra points if one of the Con Cup skippers goes in the water. I think that's the rule. Right, Marilyn?
I don't know, but I am the commentator for that. So, tune in, sports fans.
All right, Tucker, we got Dave Hood.
Yeah, Attili doing everything he can to try to just reel the distance in, but it's not going to happen. You're going to see that Yellow Spinnaker, Dave Hood, and crew cross the line, take an all-important point over Attili, and still tied for that 4th spot with Berntsson. That wraps up flight number 15. You've got a special guest to interview. I can't wait to hear from him, Ryan, so I'm going to leave it with you.
All right, we're going to cut to a quick little commercial or two, and then I will have Dusty Durant, someone that made it through junior sailing at Long Beach Yacht Club and has actually raced in a Congressional Cup or two in the past. We'll be right back with Dusty.
When it comes to one of the most important decisions of your life, your future, your freedom, your legacy, selling your business shouldn't be complicated. At Plethora Businesses, we help business owners sell smarter, faster, and for the highest value they deserve. From valuation to closing, we're with you every step of the way. Visit plethorabusinesses.com to start your next chapter.
I'm Long Beach Mayor Rex Richardson, and I'm proud to welcome you to the 60th Congressional Cup, one of the world's premier sailing regattas. Hosted by the Long Beach Yacht Club, this iconic event highlights why Long Beach is a top global destination for competitive sailing. Join us April 30th to May 4th for spectacular views of the vibrant spinnakers dancing on our water, to the exciting close-up action visible from the Belmont Pier, right where Olympic sailors will soon begin to train for LA 28. To all our guests, our competitors, welcome to the city of Long Beach. Thank you.
All right, I'm back here on the pier, this time with a couple of our longtime Yacht Club members, sponsors of the Congressional Cup, sailors, Dusty Durant and his father, Bill Durant here, Commodore Bill Durant. Welcome, guys. How are you guys doing today?
Great. Thank you, Ryan.
Dusty?
Real good.
So
Yeah.
Dusty actually came up through our youth sailing program here at Long Beach Yacht Club. He's actually raced in a Congressional Cup. Is that right?
I actually raced in 9.
In 9 Congressional Cups. Wow, Dusty Durant. I've had the pleasure of getting to sail with you as a coach. It's pretty cool to get to sail with people your same age and let them teach you the things they know. But Bill also does a lot of sailing on these 37s, and I know you guys have had a few different boats over the years. So, Bill, tell us about your sailing experience.
Well, I'm a lifetime sailor. Started racing in the late 80s and enjoy match racing, but most of my experience has been fleet racing and offshore.
And I've done a couple fleet races against you over the years, absolutely. And at what point did Dusty learn to sail? When did you guys start sailing together?
We got him his first Sabbath when he was 4.
When he was 4, wow. And so that's a really good segue into what's happening tonight. And Dusty, I want you to let us know, have you ever done a Junior Congressional Cup?
Not as a junior.
Okay.
But as part of the
crew, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that I think is really unique. And I know that if growing up I played baseball, and if I got the chance to be on the field with a professional baseball player, it would have been the highlight of my youth, right? So these kids, they pulled names out of a hat on Monday night. They got paired with a skipper now for the week that they've been following and being excited about. Then they get on the Club FJs tonight, and we're going to live stream it for the first time ever. Dusty, tell me what kind of organized chaos it is for a Junior Con Cup.
Well, it's pretty fun. There's a lot of cheating going on, which is part of the fun. I know that last time I did it was kind of like a jungle ball.
Jungle ball.
but really fun, really good for the kids. Pending the wind, it's even more interesting. If it's windy in the channel there, it gets more exciting for everybody, I think.
And it's supposed to be pretty windy tonight, right? The wind's supposed to build all weekend. So you guys are back again as a sponsor of the series, Durant Design and Construction. Tell me, Bill, what kind of projects do you guys do? I know you're in Long Beach, right? Give us a little bit of intel on what the company does.
Well, we're a full-service design-build company, so we start with just an idea and develop the plans. We go through the full construction documents, provide everything from the initial conception all the way through the project. We provide all the construction and interior design as well. So pretty much full service.
A little bit of everything. And if you have seen any of our press conferences and or the photos from the press conference, we like to call it Bill's house. Bill has built this big, beautiful display with a covering and multi-tiered seating for the competitors and really elevated the look of this. And it's something you guys throw together every year now for the Congressional Cup, right?
Yeah, we started it last year, and we actually designed it and built all the components last year. And then this year was quite a bit easier. We just bolted it all back together again. So,
right,
hopefully it's sustainable for years to come.
And high winds this weekend, apparently, right?
Yeah, I think we'll be okay.
And Dusty, tell me, what is your role within the company? I know I see you driving the truck around. I know you guys are a family business. So tell me, how has your dad's business helped you, and where are you going with this thing?
Well, what I do is I usually run a few projects, or kind of oversee some of the projects that are going on. But mostly running projects is what we do, and my brother does the same. And my sister, she actually works in the office doing the accounting, so it's pretty much full family deal, which is great. As far as where we're going, we are going to continue what we really try to pride ourselves on, which is high quality building and really try to do the best job that we can on all the projects that we do. So moving forward, obviously keep that. My brother and I are lucky that our dad kind of instilled all that in us. So we're gonna really, obviously try to keep that pride going forward.
Right on. And so tell me, do either of you or both of you maybe have a favorite project you've ever worked on? Can you describe a little bit?
For me, it's been almost 50 years of them. So there's been great ones, there's been tough ones, but all the Long Beach coastal projects are my favorites for sure. We've done a lot of on the water projects, and those are always good budgets, good design, enthusiastic clients. I think that's probably my favorite group of projects.
Fair. Dusty, what about yourself? What's the weirdest project you've had to deal with, or you've had to jump through hoops, or maybe fight the building department? Give me a good story here.
Well, actually, I'd probably say that the one that the American Integrated, David Herrera, he's a sponsor for this event. I'd say that's probably my favorite project that I've done personally, and most interesting as well. So yeah, he has that home on the end of the peninsula, that kind of tan onion looking one.
Okay.
And yeah, just from start to finish was a pretty intense, but really a great end product, I think.
Okay, cool. And so, Dusty, tell me, are you still sailing?
Yeah,
You
I
are?
sail all the
Cool.
time, yeah.
Where's your next sailing event?
Tomorrow in Newport on
Okay.
ragtime.
Okay, there we go, right?
Yeah, we're going to do a little yachting tomorrow, but we just got done sailing last night with Jeff Shue. He's got a new boat.
Part of the Seal Beach Yacht Club
Yeah,
event?
that's a little Thursday night. Actually brought my daughter Hannah with us. She's only 5, so she's a little bit behind the curve.
Yeah, and I think that is something to know, because when you mentioned, Bill, when you mentioned fleet racing, I've been lucky enough to learn on these 37s, as probably most of the Yacht Club members of my generation, if you will. And it's pretty cool that we get to do fleet races on these things all summer long. And I say this a lot. The Congressional Cup is such a great tool to get us interested in getting on the boat. I know Brittany is helping. I've sailed with her. Derek and Meryl. I've sailed with all the kids our age, Dusty, if that makes sense. And we're really lucky that we get so much racing here. Really, 3 or 4 nights a week, there's races all summer long. There's races in the winter here. And just a great place. And it shows when the racers like yourself get to travel the world and become successful and do big, great things. So I thank you guys, A, for your support, B, for your knowledge and teaching me a little bit about sailing. And I've been asking this of people we interviewed. You guys have a favorite team? Who are you rooting for this weekend?
Longtime friend Nicole Breault.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nicole Breault.
she's been very supportive, and we've developed a friendship. We're also members of St. Francis as well, and so we're rooting for Nicole.
What about you, Dusty?
I'm going for Dave Hood.
Dave Hood.
Yeah.
The hometown
Yeah,
local?
hometown, and great guy and great team.
Which Commodore was a better Commodore, your dad or Dave Hood?
My dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say you have to answer
No
that one.
hesitation, I like that.
Well, thank you guys so much. We'll be back with racing shortly here. Day number 3 of the 60th Annual Congressional Cup. Got the Durants here. You see their big, beautiful spinnaker. And go Peter Wickwire. I think he's got that thing up today from Canada.
There you go.
Thanks, guys. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Ryan.
To the Alamitos Bay Marina, home to over 1,600 boats, countless condos, Naples Island, and the Long Beach Yacht Club. Rich in yachting history, the Long Beach Yacht Club is the gateway to the water for countless activities here on Alamitos Bay. It's also the home base for the Congressional Cup's Catalina 37s. The only place in the world where you can actually race a Duffy boat, the Long Beach Yacht Club is proud to call Alamitos Bay our home. Just like we do for the Congressional Cup, we are happy to host yachtsmen from around the world and give them a small taste of what life is like here in Southern California, in Long Beach, on Alamitos Bay. If you've been to Long Beach, odds are you've heard of 2nd Street. The half-mile stretch full of coffee shops, restaurants, bars, and shopping is a favorite for locals and the college students who call Long Beach home. Only 3 blocks from the beach, 2nd Street is a foodie's paradise. Each year, when sailors come to town for the Congressional Cup, 2nd Street turns into a place of fun. Friday night, it's normal to see some of the best sailors in the world hanging out at the bars or grabbing a bite to eat with their host families here on 2nd Street. If you find yourself on 2nd Street this weekend, pop over to Legends, where they will show our 2025 Congressional Cup on their 24-foot TV. The 2025 Ficker Cup kicked off match racing in Long Beach with dramatic fashion, with racers coming from around the world to take part in this World Tour Grade 2 qualifier event for the 2025 Congressional Cup. Established to honor the world champion Bill Ficker, the Ficker Cup gives the world's best racers the chance to compete on a professional stage. On the line were 2 invitations to the Congressional Cup and a chance for 1 skipper to pen their name on the Ficker Cup, something that many of sailing's greats have done in the past. Maxime Mesnil bested Nicole Breault in the finals at the Ficker Cup, but ultimately decided out of racing the Congressional Cup as he was already committed to another team. That opened the door for Peter Wickwire to take the last invitation and round out our top 10 here at the Congressional Cup.
My name is Dr. Karen Block. I'm a chiropractor athletic trainer. We've been working with the sailors and the Long Beach Yacht Club, especially with the Congressional Cup for the past 5 years. We are a brick and mortar on wheels, so everything here is everything we have in our office, plus some. So we have compression, which is a Normatec that we use, so it's nice to flush out the legs. We also have our hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So this is 1.3 ATA, this is a soft-sided chamber, but when you go inside, you lay in, and then we have the oxygen concentrator that's 90%. And so when you lay in, a little pressure and a little oxygen goes a long way, so it compresses. So it's kind of like the Normatec, but your full body. We also do soft tissue work. We do full body. We are chiropractors, but that doesn't mean that we do chiropractic at an event, because we treat chiropractic very carefully and thorough. So normally we do nerve tracing technique, which is our own technique that we do. So we trace nerves on the body. So especially with posture, we work on the neck and the low back, and we trace nerves. And so it's a different technique, but we have what's called shock wave over here. So this is acoustic. And what this does is it breaks up adhesions with
The 2025 Ficker Cup kicked off.
Okay, folks, welcome back. We are right back in at Flight 16. Match number 1, Berntsson and Poole. Poole comfortably into the top 4 semifinals, of course, and the reigning champion. Berntsson, fresh off a win, is still tied with Dave Hood for that all-important 4th spot. Here we go. We are 3 minutes 25 into the pre-start, guys. In the dial-up.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the committee boat. You can't see it on the screen right now, but there is a green flag up, which means the race committee is seeing a little bit of a right shift.
So that right shift was a little bit of a delay, and now the breeze has settled in from the right side. The starting line looks a lot bigger to me. Maybe they lengthened it a little bit.
Yeah, I think with that right-hand shift, it kind of appears a lot bigger. You definitely have a lot kind of wider and easier space to be able to get to that start line. What's really interesting, though, with the right shift is that this pier that we're sitting on here, you can see in the top of your screen, is really going to come into play. So it'll be interesting to see whether these guys get there quite early and start to try and kill some time here. Although it looks like Berntsson is quite slow here. Poole's going for another attack. So Berntsson now has to do everything he can to get out of the way or risk a penalty.
Yeah, it took a long time for Berntsson to get up to speed there, and Poole's done a really nice job of extending and then coming back to re-establish that dial-up.
Chris here just making sure that Berntson's going to stay really down speed when he attacks. So he slowed down his own attack, cut a bit of his speed, but making it life really hard for Berntsson here. So I wouldn't be surprised when we see the guys, both teams, come back at each other again for round 2, for round 3.
Yeah, and we don't actually have too much longer to go in this pre-start with just 2 minutes now. Be interesting to see if Yanni can get himself out of this.
Berntsson in a bit of trouble. Getting boxed in the coffin corner there and over the line with time running out.
Like we saw with the Nicole match, I mean, there's still a chance for Berntsson to maybe get round the bow of Chris Poole, but it looks like Chris is giving a really hard time. We'll see how close this is. It looks incredibly close. Whoa, big swing there and contact. So, interesting to see. Let's see what the umpires have to say about it. Who was in the right and who was in the wrong.
Come on, sure.
They hit the mark as well.
Yep. Now, I can't see the penalty flag, but I can see Berntsson has gotten out of this in the tussle. So he's going to get to the right of Poole just in time, minute 10. But
a twin penalty.
Boats get a penalty, so that makes it even.
He's in a touch spot here.
So really interesting there. So both boats have infringed on each other. So there's a penalty for that incident and also a penalty for hitting the mark. So when both boats get an equal penalty, they just cancel out. Like nothing ever happened.
So the penalties are canceled out. Berntsson now gets off to the right. Poole giving chase. It's going to be a jibe for Berntsson around the signal boat. Now he's on starboard. Poole has to avoid. Poole bow down. Is going to go into a leading position. Just
Less than 40 seconds to go here.
Yep. Coming up on 30 seconds. Nope. He holds the jibe. Berntsson just gaining a little bit more distance there. To my eye, that means Berntsson wants the right. He's holding gauge to weather of Poole. Poole jibing now towards the line. Both boats winding up. 20 seconds to go. They're early, particularly Berntsson. Berntsson shedding off a little speed just below the signal boat before putting his bow down. He's just gaining every little inch of gauge to the right of his opponent.
Yeah.
Speed up.
And
He's
now
doing a nice
it's time
job
to go.
of that.
3 seconds. 2, 1. There's the gun.
Come up all the
Chris
way.
Poole, to my eye, got across the line a little bit earlier and just up to pace a tiny bit quicker, and his bow is marginally forward on Berntsson, who's to the right of his opponent. And that has been favored earlier today, particularly with Breeze shifting to the right. So all things pretty equal at this point in the race.
Yeah, it was really interesting watching Johnny come off this line. He seemed to go into a really big low mode, and then he seems to be taking a little bit of height here. So you built the gauge in the pre-start, used it when he needed to, get the boat up to speed, and then build it again. So it'll be really interesting to see is what mode he picks here. Looks like Chris Poole's going a bit high and slow, and Johnny's going a little bit lower and faster.
Yeah, Yanni's done a nice job of setting himself up a bit of runway. However, it does look like he's falling into Chris slowly, as you can see on the screen. I'm sure it won't be too much longer until Yanni heads back out to that right-hand side, unless he can hold Poole out to lay.
Berntsson doing a good job right now, staying precariously to windward of Poole. You know it's hard to live in that position as the windward boat, but he is.
It's like Johnny's setting up for attack. He does not think he can stay in there. So a quick hitch out, maybe a come back and maybe try and catch him back on starboard.
Chris Poole was just pinching up ever so slightly that whole time. So good job, Poole, pinching Berntsson away. And now the split. Still nothing in this match.
Pull me up.
With Poole continuing to the left.
You can hear Johnny saying, pull me up from the crew. So that's when you're going from that speed build, so sails ease, to slowly start to track on the sails and go into a bit of a higher groove or better VMG.
And it's Poole now having tack to stay with Berntsson to the left of the Swedish team.
It's a bit of a battle between fluoro orange and fluoro green here today.
Jag fattar inte vad han menar bara. Menar hela A-line, ska vi va?
Who's got the better outfit, T?
Definitely Yanni.
Ja, det fattar jag. Ja, det fattar jag. Först A-line. Is this...
Those are some goofy looking gloves.
Yeah, his poor hands on the very cold steering wheel. I mean, it's got to be hurting his hands in some way. Needs those gloves.
Fair point.
Axa den lite. Axa igen.
You Aussies are out there in no gloves and bare feet. No wonder there's clothes on.
Looking at Poole's boat, you can really see how much they're hiking and how low they're getting in the boat to reduce windage. And yeah, they're just really tight.
Listen to Poole. Just picked up on something there. He's not quite happy with his position.
Fuck me.
Oh, okay, well, that pretty much gave it away.
That gives it away.
Yeah, but before that, sorry, I could just tell by the tension in his voice he was not happy with. Usually the left doesn't really advantage you as often as the right, and he's to the left of his opponent.
Yeah, must have been a bit of a right shift. It seems like he started to fall in, so Johnny with that gauge with the right shift is going to come out on top, most likely, and with starboard advantage. So I wonder whether they'll actually meet or whether he'll be able to cross in front.
Look at his shoulders kind of hunched up. His words are tight and short.
Copy.
Usually when he talks, kind of relaxed and, you know, spreads his words out.
So that'll be enough.
He's relaxed, but listen to how tight his chest is when he talks. Not happy.
Very different from the hand behind the back in the pre-start.
Yeah, that hand is both hands out in front. Not good.
2, 1, and up.
And Johnny sounds
It's going to be a fight up here, guys.
comparatively relaxed.
Yeah, Johnny reckons it's going to be really close to this top, so maybe Chris has managed to claw back.
Yes.
I mean, he was a bit stressed before, but I think he's coming out quite well here.
There.
Well, Chris not getting across.
He tries to get into the zone here, so full speed here.
So tell us what Yanni is talking about there.
Yeah, so talking about the zone here, so I believe they're going around the green mark, so what he's trying to do is get into the zone first. If he's on the inside, then he's going to have some good rights going on the top. So he's saying that Chris Poole is not in zone, but that doesn't really matter. As long if Johnny's in zone, then the zone
Definitely room there. Definitely room. Come on. Hey. Yeah.
So the question is, were they overlapped when Johnny entered into zone? This is incredibly close. So Johnny goes for the bear away and lets Chris go in there. So he's kind of in zone.
Oh my gosh. I thought I was going to agree with Yanni as well, but the umpires didn't. So nope, penalty there. Chris Poole was able to get into zone first, tack for the mark. Berntsson avoided him but flagged it and didn't get a penalty on Poole.
The interesting thing was that Johnny would have gone to zone first, so he turns on the rule. So The question is, was Poole overlapped with Johnny when Johnny got into the zone? And the umpires must have said no. He must have been clear ahead.
All right. Either way, that's advantage to Poole downwind as he draws first blood, leg number 1, length and a half lead or more over Berntsson. And remember, Berntsson needs this point.
Looks like the wind's really lighting off the top of the course. You see these boats kind of really deloaded coming downwind. It'll be interesting to see whether these guys start to really power up these mainsails. We've seen in the last couple of races people keeping the controls on. These mains are really hard to handle. We could see a bit of a drop of halyard, maybe a little bit of outhaul off, Kano off. We've got a long way to go on this downwind.
I wonder if the hand's behind the back. Again. Well, Berntsson's right in this, though.
For sure. Slowly clawing back. Seems like he's really on Chris Poole's air. We'll see if Chris decides to live here or try and get out a little bit early.
Here comes the jibe from Berntsson, and Poole will respond. Matching. Trying to keep his air clear forward ahead, but I don't know, that Black Spinnaker's having trouble compared to Berntsson. Good positioning for Berntsson. Maybe took a bite out of Poole.
Yeah, I think Johnny's just slowly clawing back, slowly but surely. I mean, they've got a whole nother lap to go, so they're really both in it. I think Johnny's just trying to get close enough that they'll still have an opportunity around this bottom mark.
It's hard to defend downwind when it's close, as Poole is doing.
What turn do you want?
Asking his tactician, Jakob Aschenbrenner,
You want to start stepping a little low?
which
How's
way
that
to
angle?
go on the next leg. What turn at the leeward gate.
Come down, okay? These signs come down. Slowly down.
So often in this scenario, especially as Chris Poole's teams are slightly advanced, you're trying to match the other boat. So you don't want to come too high because suddenly they might try and dive down the inside. If you go too low, you might end up in their dirty air. So it's a really fine game.
Yeah, he is, but I want to make situation. Stand by jibe. 2, 1, jibing here. 2, 1.
You just get the sense that Berntson's bringing this race to Poole. Poole's in reactionary mode, which is not good. And when he asked Jakob Aschenbrenner about the leeward mark, Aschenbrenner didn't answer. Too focused on Berntsson, which kind of shows you that the
I'm happy to jibe here.
advantage
jibe here.
right now is with
Jibing
Berntsson,
here.
even though he's behind.
Jibing here.
So 2 jibes to step down to get
2,
inside at
1,
the
way up.
rounding for Poole. Used up a little bit of that lead, but he's going to, I believe, be, ahead. And he can choose which way he wants to go. They've made that decision earlier.
We're turning left. Keep it.
And he's going to go to the left again. That's surprising, considering how close the game is. And that leaves Berntsson with no choice but to split to the other side, to his right. Very even as both teams head back upwind with Poole just ahead.
Yeah, you can really hear Johnny just before saying, keep it. He's talking about the kite there, so must have there's maybe a miscommunication on board or a premature drop. Could cost him vital centimeters in this match. Or inches over here, I guess.
At least, if you're a Berntsson fan, they've got the right. They've got starboard tack advantage.
Yeah, copy.
But I can see why Poole went to the left. There's a really nice puff that he's shifted into now, just off screen. And he's tacked in it. Nice velocity from the left-hand side. There it is. It's a good look at Poole, who is in a more comfortable spot relative to Berntsson right now.
And Poole and Joachim have spent a lot of time sailing on these waters, so maybe they're seeing something that Joni hasn't.
All the hikes.
And Yanni has Scott Dixon on board, who has arguably spent even more time than most of all the competitors in this regatta because he lives here.
Copy.
And so that's really going to
Copy.
hopefully even things up. We'll see. Remember, Berntsson, if it's close, will have rights under the rules. Berntsson also in a must-win, not must-win, but pretty important win, let's say.
You can see the 2 front people on Poole's team in the aero tuck position. So, I mean, every kind of last percentage really matters in these boats. So even though they're not going the same speed as maybe an AC boat, but these guys are getting all their weight out they possibly can and keeping an aero position.
He's coming now, body in. He's tacking, Jakob. I don't want to chase it. I want the speed because we're going to tack. Copy? Yeah. No, now it's knocking. I know what you're asking for. Just let me feel the boat a little. Yeah.
That was the main trimmer asking Chris to come up. Chris wants to go for speed. He's across. Gain from the left for Poole. That was the right call at the bottom of the track to go that way.
Your boat, Joachim.
And now the hands going behind the back again. Eventually.
Looks like Chris is going for another attack. Lead up to the green mark again.
We think so. Now Poole shifts over to the right, making it even harder for Berntsson to get around him.
You see a slow wind on from the trimmers there, so they're definitely not trying to get to max trim straight away. As we said before, these boats take minutes to get up to speed. So you see a very slow trim on as Chris starts to take a little bit of height.
Close to the lane line here. Stand by.
Time for Berntsson to attack.
2, 1, here we go.
Looks like Chris is outside of zone.
2,
so that won't come into play at the top
and
mark
up.
here. So we're interested to see what happens. Probably a lee bow attack from Chris.
Good build. Yeah, full on. We're closing in, guys. Really good.
And there
good
it
call,
is.
Scotty. Yeah.
Berntsson likes what he sees, even though he's behind. Bringing a bit of pace from that upper left-hand side
mark,
as they
guys.
converge at the top mark. Poole into the spinnaker hoist first. Berntsson definitely close enough to attack.
Good attacking here. And speeding.
Looks like a small whiny from Chris Poole, but they did really well to try and manage that situation.
He's mean. How's the angle now? Out haul off.
Elbow, high forward. Angle's good. This is low.
Okay, so you're Yanni Berntsson behind. Not even 2
What's he
lengths.
doing? Happy to be lower.
What's the next move?
So I guess it'd be really interesting to see. So it looks like there's still a little bit more right-hand pressure out. So left-hand side is your screen looking right now. So it'd be really interesting to see whether Chris tries to go hot to match Yanni or whether he tries to go low and maybe protect his jibe.
Yeah, if I was Poole, I'd just be wanting to get as far away from Yanni right now and not get baited into anything.
Stand by matching.
May not look like a whole lot's happening, but heart rate will be extremely high going through his stress levels through the roof.
Poole jibes first. Berntsson matches.
That was a very nice jibe from Berntsson. Seems
Yeah.
like it's very hot out of there with good speed.
Already Chris Poole's in trouble. That black spinnaker is collapsing. He may have to go into defensive mode here and luff up his opponent. Yep, definitely closing in is Berntsson.
Going for the dip behind jibe. How, whoa, incredibly close.
Berntsson with the advantage, bringing the heat to Poole. This is the final run to the finish. An
saw
important
this.
match for Berntsson.
This worked at another match previously where we did the dip inside, split, and then come back. I think it might have been Yanni, actually.
Possibly. So it'll be really interesting to see, will he have a piece of Poole when he comes back?
To me.
Well, and Poole's definitely going to have to jibe at least once more to get down to the finish, and Berntson's done 2 to get to his left.
Roll in
So
the
they're
jibes.
anticipating the next move there.
He's going to have gas here. It's going to be close.
Yeah. Come on, guys.
Okay, you can hear Scotty
A little
Dixon
up,
just telling
copy.
Yanni Berntsson that
Main
he's
on.
getting bad air from an upwind boat. You can see in the right of screen there. And that's going to
Main on,
slow
please.
Poole down a little bit. Meanwhile, you can feel some positive vibes coming from Berntsson's boat. They feel like they might just have a piece of Chris
We should
Poole
have
here.
rolled him, I think, maybe. I don't know.
Mindful of a pre-start. Just think about that, Joachim.
So Paul just mentioning there, Wickwire and Tapero just in their pre-start or final little bits at the moment, so they could be a feature of the race course as they start to truck upwind. These guys will be on starboard upwind, and these guys and the guys coming down we see on screen will be on starboard to windward, which means that they are giveaway boat.
Well, that might mix things up a little bit. Poole right now still looks ahead to my eye. Again, we have at least one more jibe in it. And Berntsson looking to pounce on him, but will he have enough runway? Did he go too far? Is my question.
Yeah, Poole looks like he's in a really good spot here, especially see from this gate. Looks like he's pulled away a little bit.
Clear on finish. Copy, Mel.
Just last minute here has been some left-hand pressure.
Yeah,
I think that's
I'm
helped
standing
Poole
here.
as he jives now for the finish line. And Berntsson can't get ahead of him yet. Can't get his breeze yet. Not going to affect him. So it is Poole
Nice race, Joachim.
who looks comfortable crossing the line, taking another point
I'm giving it up.
in what has been his regatta so far. Looking for a three-peat win in the Congressional Cup. He is definitely going to the semifinals, and he knows it. Well done. Now Berntsson, I wonder, will Berntsson be looking at the Hood match to see, because they were tied. I wonder if they even keep track of the scores out there. Anyway, we'll find out. Meanwhile, we're going to go on board with the winner, making it look easy. Maybe one or two nervous moments, but in the end, Chris Poole won the race.
We had a close pre-start with Yanni. We actually had offsetting penalties and weren't really thrilled with our position, but Joachim did a phenomenal job of putting us right where we wanted to be off the line, which was faster and just to leeward, and we were able to claw up to Yanni. And then at the top mark, we got to the zone without an overlap. And so Yanni thought about sticking it in there, but then at the last second bailed out. And then downwind, Joachim did a really nice job of positioning us against Yanni to keep our air clear. And then on the last upwind, Yanni kept it close with us, and then we slowly split away. And then on the downwind, Joachim just called a phenomenal defensive positioning, and we were able to take the win.
All right, well, congratulations, Chris Poole, and this is the final match in this flight for the day. Attili and Garreta, Italy and France.
Again, all of these sailors will be back on the water tonight, all the skippers at least, with the Junior Con Cup. A correction to something I stated earlier, the club is not open to the public. There's a party for club members tonight. But we will be live online at this same spot on the Congressional Cup's YouTube account. You guys can watch. You hear the crowd in the background. It's Berntsson passing the pier here.
Well, I'll tell you, another thing they might be cheering for, even though Berntsson lost that last match, is that Hood, who he's tied with, is ahead right now in his match there in the background. That yellow spinnaker coming downwind, I think, to the finish. So that's going to help Hood over Berntsson and Hansen. The home team looking for a spot in the top four. And I don't think Attili or Garreta in the pre-start can do it. It's not over, though, is it? It's close. He's up against Breault, Nicole Breault, just behind. Both boats have at least one more jibe in it. And Breault is set up lower than her opponent. Both poles are down. Breault just ready to pounce, and she's going to go right here, trying to roll Hood.
We see both jibs starting to come up here.
Is this into the leeward gates?
Yeah, I believe it's into the leeward gate. So question is, who can get the better draft here? So it's going to be a very late drop from the yellow spinnaker here.
And a sharp turn for Dave Hood. Meanwhile, if she does it right, this is going to be a nice smooth turn for Breault. Just pushing that spinnaker drop to the very last second. That gains you a little more speed, but it puts the crew under pressure and off the rail as they round the mark, just collecting that red spinnaker. Meanwhile, it's Hood who chose the left. It's close, so Breault will have the advantage on starboard. And right now, to my eye, I think Brault's looking like she's heading in pretty good breeze. So we'll see. We'll rejoin that one. Keep an eye on how that's going to go, because it's important for Hood for sure. Meanwhile, back in the pre-start. About a minute to go. Garreta to leeward, Attili to windward. Attili going for a hook. Both teams a little bit early. Got to kill some time. Attili can't get a piece of Garreta at this point. Still going for it, though. Now Garreta bears down, accelerates away. He's running out of room. He's going to have to hit the brakes at some point, I think.
The Italians have yet to win a match in this flight, in this round robin, so it'll be really interesting to see how they go here.
Final few seconds here. Attili's going to tack away, and Garreta's just simply going to go for the pin. Split tack start, even otherwise, and we're going to leave them to it because as we look in the background, there's a very close match between Monnin in the purple spinnaker and Hansen in the blue. Hansen trying to stay alive in this regatta, fighting for a semifinal spot, and Monnin has a penalty. So he's trying to shed it right here to the finish.
Yeah, no, 100%. This is really interesting stuff. So they're going very close to the finish line. So even if Monnin crosses the line right now in front, he still has an outstanding penalty. So will he be able to get Hansen here? I mean, he's going for the roll. I think he might have it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that Monnin quite has overlap here with Hansen. So this is going to be a photo finish, potentially.
Well, regardless of how it finishes, Monnin wasn't able to get a piece of Hansen to offset that penalty. So even though he's crossing the line, what looks like ahead, it's Hansen's race. Now, Monnin mathematically is a lot farther ahead in the top 4 spots than Hansen, but Hansen really needs that point. That's going to help him over Berntsson. Now, he's probably going to watch this Dave Hood match that we are as well, coming downwind. That's Hood in the yellow spinnaker, so he's trailing. That'll help Hansen. Maybe we'll get Marilyn Cassidy to do the math real quick in the scores before we close this final flight this afternoon. And again, just to remind you, there are 2 more flights tomorrow before we complete the round robin. So still more to play for to determine the top 4, other than Chris Poole, who's pretty much sealed his spot in the semifinals.
Wickwire's gone for that early jib up in preparation for rounding the bottom mark. And Tapper's quite far behind there, actually.
Yeah, this might be the race of the day for Peter Wickwire. He struggled a bit, and Cole Tapper has been so competitive all weekend. You know, this is going to feel good if he can hold on to this lead to end the day, at least with a win here.
Yeah. Wickwire's done the right thing as well. You know, he's got a solid lead. He's just gone to had a really nice, clean rounding. Didn't put too much pressure on his crew.
And I've got to give you an update, sorry, because I'm a little colorblind on these yellows. That's Tapper that he's ahead of, right? And Hood is still ahead in his match at the top of the track. So that's going to be one to follow over this one because they are almost overlapped and having a big tussle there in the background. You can see it. Hood is the yellow spinnaker, trying not to get rolled by Nicole Breault from behind. Hood needs this point big time. Just pulling ahead there. Almost looked precarious as Nicole Breault was set up to roll, but Hood was able to luff up, keep his air clear, and just punch forward. Now Breault squares back and settles into a spot just to leeward of him, anticipating the next jibe, which isn't coming anytime soon by the looks of it.
And this is a must-win for Dave Hood because tomorrow, looking ahead, he's got a big race against Hansen to end this round robin. So a win here keeps him 1 point ahead of Bjorn Hansen going into the last 2 races. I really think it's all or nothing for Dave Hood on this one to keep himself up there. You don't want to be letting that last race determine if you're a top 4 or not, right, guys?
No, that's a terrible feeling.
So I guess Nicole's options here are trying to steal a bit of Hood's air, slow him down, and then use your speed to try and prevent the jibe back in. So the aim is to try and get them into downwind jail where they can't jibe and clear your bow.
So this is the last race of the day. We've got 3 races going in the last flight of the day. We'll have 2 flights tomorrow, and then they go straight into the semis. So full day of racing. What I learned this morning, actually, is all the competitors will be back on the water again Sunday for the fleet race. So that'll be Sunday morning for that fleet race. So anyone that took this trip all the way out here had 5 full days of sailing. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I really like that. It sometimes, especially us coming from Australia, you travel a long way and only get a couple days of racing in, but it's a really nice way to include everyone. And, you know, people love sailing here, so why not do more of it?
And hats off to the race committee for extending that. I know that it might feel to us as the viewers like, oh, they got to go out again, but they want to be on the water. That's why you guys come, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah, a dream to be here. Hopefully Zach and I are sailing next year.
Well, if you don't get to sail next year, we want you with us in the booth for sure. That's a given.
Because we saw a bit of a Simo jibe there. So Breault just trying to keep on top of Hood's air.
So Hood fighting Breault off to the finish. Behind him, Hansen fighting his opponent. Garreta, not Garreta. Who is that?
That's Wickwire, I think.
Thank you. No.
No. My bad.
So Nicola's the trailing boat is trying to create opportunity to overtake here. She's initiating a couple jibes, maybe to try and cause Hood to have an error or just to overtake where she can.
So that jibe just before the Simo jibe, it seems like Hood initiated it, so he was able to get the jump on Nicole through that, which could be the decider through this. I mean, they're going for a dive for the line, but it looks like Hood's got it.
Only just. Good head of steam from Nicole Breault from behind, but not enough. Dave Hood has done it. That is a very valuable point. Looking towards the semifinals, and the hometown crowd is quite pleased to see it. Okay, so now let's go into the middle of the track. Blue and orange are having a fight between the two of them there. That's Garreta and Attili. Attili in front. Garreta on the attack.
It's nice to see Attili in front today. He hasn't had a win in this second flight. So it'll be nice for him to get a win on the board in his second Congressional Cup.
A lot like the situation with Nicole Breault. Close behind in the match against Hood. And Attili there just trying to keep his air clear. A couple more jibes left. Attili matching, keeping his air clear forward, protecting the long jibe to the finish, which is over a minute away.
And from this shot, you get a great view of downtown Long Beach. This is the bay where we will race the Olympics in 2028. You hear the crowd cheering for Dave Hood in the background here, right in front of the pier.
Love it. Oh, these guys are going back upwind again. We get a little bit dizzy and confused when we focus on our feature match, and then we come out of it and go, where are we? Who's on first? What's on second?
Right.
Split. Garreta off to the right. Attili to the left. Side of the course. Right side's top of your screen. Left side's bottom of the screen. Some teams have made the left work today. We'll see when these two teams converge.
It looks like we had a bit of an increased breeze coming through the middle of the track here, so we'll be really interested to see whether that comes with a shift or not. But looks like the guys on the right-hand side seem to have a bit of a step up on the Italians, but it'll be really interesting to see what happens as they get a little bit further along the racetrack and see if any shifts come into play.
And having a look at the match coming downwind, that is Wickwire with a pretty solid jump on Cole Tapper.
Yeah, so Wickwire coming all the way from Nova Scotia. It's a lot colder up there, different kind of sailing conditions, I feel, but he made a point to say last week his dream in life was to race the Congressional Cup. He made it to the big show, if you will. He actually had 3 wins on the first day of racing, has struggled a bit since, but this is a pretty commanding win here over one of the strongest competitors this weekend, Cole Tapper.
Definitely.
Not to mention his incredibly close race against Chris Poole. Had him on the wire there.
So those of you on the pier, if you can give it up for our neighbor to the north, Peter Wickwire. First win of the day here. First win of the second round robin for Wickwire and team.
Nice.
Steve Flam from Long Beach Yacht Club's on board with them as well.
Well done, Wickwire. Nice job, eh? One more match left in play on the course. Attili and Garreta. They had that big split upwind. Garreta has tacked to stay, or Attili rather has tacked to stay with Garreta. Both boats headed to the right until now. Here is the convergence. That left boat, have they made a little bit of a gain? I'm not so sure. There we go, dial down. Have they gone below 90 degrees? That could be a penalty. Oh, I'm not sure. Big move there if it was done right by Attili. The Garreta big duck there and a gain from the starboard boat. That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was really well executed. But the question is, did they go past 90 degrees? I'm sure there would have been a flag from the other boat just to ask the questions from the umpires.
It was 89.8 degrees. And that puts him out in front, that move, by another length.
Be interesting to see if Rocco's on lay for this top mark. Hard to see from here.
Looking back at the pier here, you can see just how great it is that we are so far out in the middle of the water here to watch these races. View of the boats back there here from the Port of Long Beach. They are a sponsor of the race this year. Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles combined are one of the busiest ports in the world, and we are lucky to have it right here in our backyard and as a sponsor.
Garreta just tacking in front of Attili going into the hoist. For the final run to the finish. All of these matches have been less than 2 boat lengths separated around the track. They split, they come together, have a few tussles, and yet it's like there's a rubber band connecting them. It doesn't go more than 2 boat lengths. Great sailing, great competition this afternoon. Looks like the breeze also is going to pick up for our Junior Con Cup later today, Ryan.
Tonight, it's supposed to build all weekend. There's a storm coming in Monday. I don't want to take away from our weathercaster over here on the side, but a storm coming in Monday. It's going to be interesting. We might have one of the windiest finals we've had.
Garreta could be in a bit of trouble here. Sorry. That was a nice bite the trailing boat took out of him. Attili wants this point.
Interesting to see how well they're flying that spinnaker. There's no pole in place. So as someone that's flown a spinnaker, that is not an easy thing to do in a breeze like this. Especially with only 6 guys on board. I'm used to having 12. Fact.
This brand new breeze, pretty solid across the track now. Boats are able to hold a lower angle, and they're almost pretty much straight into the finish, it looks like, from that angle.
So it looks like Rocco does not have a piece of Garreta out in front, so it seems like he's trying to close the gauge and maybe trying to get just a little bit closer to try and affect his air.
I heard from Rocco yesterday that him and the team have been speaking French, but I wonder if they've switched languages so that the French team don't know what they're up to.
He told me they didn't know what they were up to half the time. Different languages on board. Very international sport, isn't it? Now, this left-hand pressure has really made it a one-sided run. He's going to have to sail all this extra distance to try to get over the top of Garreta. Garreta's just going to put his bow up a little bit and keep his air clear. So even though Attili's going faster, he's going to have to sail so much extra distance to go all the way around his opponent, and we've only got a minute left to the finish.
Looks like both boats have hooked into a really nice line of pressure as well. This could be quite fun.
Well, the only thing that this works for Attili is that by making his opponent luff up, it's squaring the run a little bit, so we might have one more jibe in it now. Let's force Garreta to sail extra distance to windward there. So that's his only opening, and he's going to take it here, jibing for the finish. Garreta's going to continue, get his air clear from behind and go to the pin, which looks a little bit favored, but big breeze for both boats, meaning it's going to be full speed on to the finish. Garreta's going all the way to his right, or our left. As we look at the finish, here comes Attili for one more jibe. Not sure if that's going to affect Garreta, because Garreta's only got 2 lengths left as he heads for home. Good effort by Attili, but not enough. Garreta gets the point. After a rough day yesterday, that's a valuable win. Well done, Ian Garreta. And that's it. That wraps up 4 flights today, 2 more tomorrow to complete the double round robin as we move into the 4th day of the Congressional Cup and then the semifinals. But first, the Junior Congressional Cup back at Long Beach Yacht Club tonight and the press conference afterwards. You're welcome to join us, where all 10 teams will be there. We're going to hear how the day went. Thanks to everybody on the Belmont Pier for joining us, watching the racing, and thanks to all of you live worldwide on Facebook and YouTube. Marilyn Cassidy, you are up. Tell us how the scores look right now preliminarily.
Yeah, preliminarily it's very tight at the top. So we've got Poole and Monnin just a bit out in front in first and second. But following very closely, we have that similar clump from earlier today with Tapper and Hood tied on 10 wins and 6 losses. Tapper is currently winning that tiebreaker. And then Berntsson and Hansen with 9 wins and 7 losses, it tied for 5th right now with Berntsson winning that tiebreaker. That means that even with only 2 races remaining in the current round robin, there is a lot to play for.
All right, thanks very much. And there's the scores just in time after you finish them all. Thanks, guys, for putting that up. And that wraps up this third day of the Congressional Cup. So 2 more flights, then we move into the semifinals tomorrow. Sunday afternoon, the petite finals. And then the finals of the Congressional Cup. Who will take home their share of a $75,000 cash prize and a brand new Crimson Blazer? Well, you'll have to join us here in Long Beach to find out. For our entire 27-person commentary crew here in the booth, thank you guys all for joining us, and we'll see you back here in Long Beach tomorrow.
When it comes to one of the most important decisions of your life, your future, your freedom, your legacy, selling your business shouldn't be complicated. At Plethora Businesses, we help business owners sell smarter, faster, and for the highest value they deserve. From valuation to closing, we're with you every step of the way. Visit plethorabusinesses.com to start your next chapter.
I'm Long Beach Mayor Rex Richardson, and I'm proud to welcome you to the 60th Congressional Cup, one of the world's premier sailing regattas. Hosted by the Long Beach Yacht Club, this iconic event highlights why Long Beach is a top global destination for competitive sailing. Join us April 30th to May 4th for spectacular views of the vibrant spinnakers dancing on our water, to the exciting close-up action visible from the Belmont Pier, right where Olympic sailors will soon begin to train for LA 28. To all our guests, our competitors, welcome to the city of Long Beach. Thank you.
Big jibe. Fishtail, look how close Poole's getting. Dix is in trouble.
This year we celebrate 60 years of world-class match racing at the iconic Congressional Cup, hosted by the Long Beach Yacht Club.
Yeah, buddy, 2 in a row, baby. Best team in the world.
It was such a huge honor to have my name on that trophy alongside some of the absolute legends of the sport.
Obviously, the winner of the Congressional Cup wins the Crimson Blazer.
Putting this jacket on last year was something I've dreamed about since I got into match racing.